Her car seat looks like the right size.
There are probably rules on when to move up to a booster seat, aren't there?
Rear facing, forward facing? I think I have it right.
Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Are your children in the right car seat for their age and size? Don't think you know you know. Go to safercar.gov/the right seat.
I know my child's in the right car seat, or else I wouldn't get in the driver's seat.
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
You don't usually get a stock tip from a 16-year-old, but I'm here to tell you about a different kind of stock. It's called Better Futures, a stock for social change that's not about making money. Instead, you invest to help students like me go to college. This is beyond a simple donation. It's the opportunity for America to invest in its kids and take an active stake in the future of the country. The return on your investment isn't money. What you get back is knowing you protected our potential. So one day, that potential can grow up to become surgeons and architects, executives and engineers, people who can change the future just by being a part of it. My name is Alicia, and I am your dividend.
Invest in better futures with UNCF. Visit uncf.org/invest. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, but a wonderful thing to invest in. A public service announcement brought to you by UNCF and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
As NBA All-Star Weekend approaches, the NBA's all-time point leader, LeBron James, was extremely critical of his team, telling the media that the Lakers are not championship material. As the trade deadline has come and gone, the Lakers may be able to add some buyout candidates, but this team, which is currently sixth in the crowded Western Conference, does not inspire James's confidence. Can the Lakers, Luka Doncic, and LeBron find a way to reign supreme before the king calls it quits? And before we cover the beef between Big Ben and Joey Porter Sr., and take a ride on the concrete jungle carousel covering what's new in New York sports, we'll tell you what parts of All-Star Weekend, if any, are worth your while. On another, all gas, no brakes, wheeling and dealing, styling and profiling live Thursday night edition of Jabba and the Mouth.
That's a good point to give him a significant. They're going to have a ton of money to spend. Why not put it in one of the top 3 offensive players in the league? We're going to be looking at Aaron Judge and saying that he can't win the big game. Michael Jordan said, I played 82 games. You don't see LeBron doing that.
This is a game where you got to go perform.
I told you, Giant fans, and Saquon Barkley, at this point, I'm gonna fight them all. A 7-nation army couldn't hold me back. They're gonna rip it off. Take it down. Say whatever you want about Patrick Mahomes. He's the best quarterback in the NFL. Really? And I'm talking to myself at night because I can't forget. And back and forth through my mind behind a cigarette. And the name's coming from my eyes.
Let's do it. Listening to Jabba and the Mouth.
631 672 3108 is the number to call. You're listening to Jabba and the Mouth. My name is Errol Marks, and my co-host, he should be joining us in just a few moments, Jabba Chamberlain and Speedy Petey. Executive producer, Mr. Aaron Fishman on the board. Tommy Poops in the back end of the rooms. Our NR personality himself, Mr. Nathan. Go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. check out all our shows throughout the week, including Jabba in the Mouth every single Mondays and Thursdays at 6:45 p.m. All you have to do to tune in and check out our local listings for all our shows is go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. A lot to get into tonight. No more football. We have the Combine, which is right around the corner. And then we have open season as free agency market opens up for the NFL. And we have the Olympics going on as we speak. We're watching, I guess you could say this. This is skating, well, speed skating. That's what they call it. So we have speed skating racing right now. You have the women's Olympic hockey team absolutely dominating against Team Canada over the weekend, which was fun to watch. So a lot. Actually, it wasn't over the weekend. It was early this week, but it was fun to watch. It's something that we haven't seen. Usually, the Canadian team over the last couple of years has been dominant against Team USA, and maybe it's a different year. Maybe we see a completely different Team USA women's hockey team. And obviously, the men's hockey team started today. I didn't get a chance to watch the game. I'll watch the replay after the show. If I'm not mistaken, they played Slovakia. I'm not positive on that, but they played Slovakia today. So it's crazy. This is my favorite time of the year because you have March Madness right around the corner. Football is over. We have basketball really picking up after the All-Star break. The trade deadline obviously just ended for the NBA. And then there's the NHL, which the NHL trade deadline, I think, is what? Right around the corner, right, Speedy?
March, first week of March.
Yeah, so the NHL trade deadline. And then we're going to find out how hockey starts to pick up because after the All-Star break, everything starts to fall into place. And we'll see how the Islanders, where the Islanders are. And then the Rangers choking, New Jersey choking. And we're going to go into the playoffs with maybe just two New York teams. Yes, possibly the Buffalo Sabres and the New York Islanders. Who would have thought that? The New York Rangers, the New Jersey Devils were expected to be playoff contending teams, but it seems like it's gone the other path. It's Buffalo and the Islanders moving on possibly into a playoff run. So a lot to get into with that a little bit as the season progressively moves forward. But like I said, I love this time because at all hours of the night, the Olympics are on. You get to watch curling and all the different Olympic sports. I love skating. Me and Brittany, when the Olympics started, we got to see the team skating. Yeah, you got a chance to see the men's short programs. I think the long programs are tonight. I'm not fully positive on that, and then there's the women's program and all that other stuff. Ice dancing is fun to watch as well. It's fun, and you get to root on Team USA, and you back up your colors, the red, white, and blue, and you get a chance to see some of the more hotter, and I say hot because these skaters, some of these women skaters are like supermodels. I'm serious. From all different parts of the world, from Switzerland to Sweden, they're like absolutely stunning women, and I love looking at that. I'm a man. What can I say? I'm a man that enjoys looking at beautiful women. So I know Nathan loves that. That's for damn sure. But anyway, Speedy, how are you?
Enjoying the Olympics as well. Always enjoyable to see. Like, you could bump around so many different sports, especially having Peacock. You just bump around whatever sport you want. I was watching a lot of the snowboard cross, which is the direct racing snowboard. That's always been my favorite of the because a lot of times it's just time trials or something like that, and they actually go right at each other. I think 6 different snowboarders all at once was cool. I like a lot of the skiing. I like a lot of the skating as well, like you were saying. And now we're watching some speed skating, which can always get intense.
It's fun to watch, and like I said, you root on your country, and if you're an Italian descent or you're Russian descent or whatever, Ukraine descent, Lithuanian descent, you're rooting on your nationality. So it's always fun to watch, and the competitive nature. And like I said, you get the chance to watch sports that you don't get to watch every single day. I introduced curling to Brittany last night, and she was like, "What the hell is this?" And she's like, "This looks boring." And I said, "It's strategy. Have you ever played shuffleboard?" And she says, "Yeah, but this is completely different than shuffleboard." I said, "No, it's not. I mean, It's shuffleboard on ice, but just a little bit more strategy. And it's fun to watch because if you understand the game and you understand the point system and the competitive nature when there's 10 rounds of curling, it's interesting how they have strategy and they contest certain things that happen during the game and obviously call timeouts. They go to their coaches come down and they're giving them advice. And it's interesting. It really is. It's fun to watch. And like I said, it's all competitive nature, and you get to see all these different countries and all these different sports compete against one another. It's always fun to watch. A little bit later in the show, we will be talking to former New York Giants Super Bowl champion linebacker Gary Reasons will be joining us. Gary has been was a successful linebacker in the NFL, won a Super Bowl with the New York Giants, was a big part of that Super Bowl championship New York Giants team. So we'll get into what he's been doing off the field over the last couple of years. And like his pal, Howard Cross, who was on the show last week, interesting to see what he thinks the Giants are going to be this year with a new coaching staff. Now, not one, not two, but three offensive coordinators, one that took the quarterback position, one that's an assistant offensive coordinator, and obviously Matt Nagy, who's the quote-unquote offensive coordinator. It makes no sense, ladies and gentlemen, but again, the New York Giants over the last couple of years have made no sense on their position with their coaching staff and even some of their players. But I want to get into the LeBron James story because whenever LeBron is a lead story, it's definitely something that's going to draw fans and interesting content. After Monday's 119-110 loss to the Thunder, LeBron James told the media after the game that the Lakers are not a championship team. James said the Lakers were not giving effort for the full 48 minutes compared to the Thunder and other younger teams they have competed against in the Western Conference. The Lakers kept it within 10 without Luka Doncic in the game, who is still dealing with a hamstring injury. Without Luka, LeBron put up 22 points, 10 assists, and 6 rebounds, but it was not enough to top the Oklahoma City Thunder without SGA, who missed the game with an abdominal injury. Outside of LeBron, who is averaging almost 22 points, 7 assists, and 6 rebounds a game in his 23rd NBA season, the Lakers are being powered by Austin Reaves and is tied for 13th in the NBA, averaging 25.7 points per game, but missed 19 straight games until returning to the lineup last week. Luka is leading the NBA, averaging 32.3 points per game, and is also third in MVP odds right now, only behind Jokic and SGA. The Lakers are the sixth team in the Western Conference, sixth seed in the Western Conference right now at 32-21. All right. So LeBron James has his own thoughts to the Los Angeles Lakers. And maybe this is his last hurrah, or I don't know what LeBron James is trying to do to disappoint some of the youngsters on this Laker team. They don't have enough talent to win a championship as far as where the teams are. And at the trade deadline, you would have thought that the Lakers were going to make significant moves if they thought they were a contending team. And I think that's why LeBron James doesn't believe that the Lakers are contending, because they didn't really make any moves at the trade deadline. They didn't make a substantial move where they could have made a move for Giannis or Joel Embiid or any one of these guys that we were speaking about possibly in the trade market. And again, LeBron James is at the tail end. He's at the 18th hole right now of his career. Now, where LeBron James could be or what LeBron James is as a player, it to me still is going to prove his worth all the way through the season to the playoffs. I think this team is a playoff team. Can they win a round in the first round of the playoffs, especially if they win their play-in? Because right now they're a 6 seed, so they'd be a play-in team. So if they get through the play-in game, I think they can win a first round playoff team, depending on who they match up against. Now, the NBA is very interesting because depending on matchups, and remember, it becomes a half-court game. LeBron James is not the same player he once was. LeBron James still averages 23 points and 7 assists and 6 rebounds. He's an elite player still. And you could say whatever you want. He's still a top 20 player in the NBA. But LeBron James can't play the defense he used to play. He can't dominate on the perimeter like he used to be able to dominate. Even his shooting percentage just went down over the last couple of years. So he's not that dominant force that we could remember when LeBron James was the best player, the go-to guy, the face of the NBA. Now you see guys like Luka Doncic and Jokic and SGA. And by the way, all three guys that we just mentioned are foreigners, guys that are not from the United States. It's been dominated. American basketball has been dominated by Americans for a very, very long time. When you think about the elite of elite players, when Kobe Bryant was here, he was the best player in the NBA. When Kobe Bryant was starting to transform into the player he was, you had guys like Tim Duncan, who were still an elite player when Kobe Bryant took over the league, and obviously Shaquille O'Neal. It was always run by American players. Now, as we've moved forward in the last 20, 25 years, the foreigners, the international players, and it really started off with guys like Dirk Nowitzki, who came into the league from Germany and was a dominant force, big man who can shoot threes, transitioned the game of basketball. And now you have guys like Jokic and SGA and Luka Doncic, all international players that have built a name for themselves here in the NBA. LeBron James looks at this team, even with even with Luka Doncic, can they compete against the elite teams, even with Austin Reaves and himself and Luka Doncic? I think their starting five is as good as anybody in the Western Conference, except possibly the size. And they have DeAndre Ayton. DeAndre Ayton was a first-round talent, the number one pick of the first round years ago. And he really didn't develop into the player he was when he came out of college. But DeAndre Ayton is still a pretty good player at the position he plays, at the power forward / center position. Now, you look at the Lakers right now, they don't have the bench to win. And as we've watched the NBA over the last couple of years, it's all about the depth of your bench is what's going to take you to that next level. When the Nuggets won the championship, they had one of the best benches in the league. Last year, Indiana, as they knocked out the New York Knicks, they had one of the best benches in the Eastern Conference, even with Tyrese Halliburton playing as well as he was throughout the playoffs and making these clutch shots as well as he was. And then you look at the Western Conference, even when the Golden State Warriors were at the top of their game, look at the depth they had coming off their bench. Look at the defensive side of the ball. I think that obviously when you look at what the Lakers are today, they don't have that kind of depth. Speedy, could you tell me the best bench player the Lakers have?
Hachimura, probably.
Hachimura. Okay. That's their best player. In the past, they had guys like Derek Fisher and guys of that magnitude, Robert Horry coming off the bench when they were a championship contending team, guys that have won, guys that understood what their roles were. I don't know if the Lakers understand their roles. And they have a coach that's been here for a couple of years. And I'm not saying he's not a good one, but I questioned the Lakers when they hired him because he had no coaching experience and he was doing a podcast with LeBron James. I think that obviously where the Lakers are today and what they have not been over the last couple of years maybe had something to do with the Buss family selling the team and selling their profits away to another owner. And I think that the Lakers are not that same family of dominance over the years where they built around talent and superstars coming here to want to play for the Lakers and their colors. It's not like that anymore. The Lakers are not that dominant force they once were. As a matter of fact, if you look at the Western Conference right now, especially over the last couple of years, would you consider the Lakers a top 4 team in the NBA? And the answer would be no, because you got young teams. And even when the Golden State Warriors were at the top level, LeBron James wasn't quite there. I mean, he was in Miami before he went to the Lakers. And the Lakers only won a championship with Anthony Davis I think it was COVID time, the bubble year. That was the last time that the Lakers were a contending team. And that might have had something to do with the short season and all the different rule changes that they had to implicate because of COVID. I think that you look at the Lakers now, I question where ownership is and really where the executives are on what this team is. When LeBron James decides to step down, I know they had a Luka Doncic, and I know you have a superstar player with the LA Lakers, and the Lakers always have superstars, always have one guy that is the face of the organization. And I think Luka is a great ambassador for Los Angeles basketball. But my problem here is there anybody that's going to want to play there anymore? I mean, the Lakers have always been a destination that you want to play for. Now you look at guys like Giannis. Do you think Giannis wants to go over there and play for the Lakers? Or even some of these free agents that are going to become available in the next couple of years when LeBron James steps down? Is Luka Doncic a person that you want to play with? Because if we've seen where Luka was with the Dallas Mavericks, did they ever win a championship? No. They had Kyrie Irving over there. They did not win. Jalen Brunson was there. They did not win. And I'm not saying that Luka Doncic is not a great player and he's not one of the ambassadors of the game of basketball, but is he a winning player? LeBron James proved that he was a winning player. Luka Doncic, in 2 years in a row, went to a Western Conference and a championship and couldn't get over the hump. And again, you look at the specifics and understanding where the Lakers are, and they have never been in a drought like this. Think about this. They haven't won a championship in 6 years now. The last time they won, I think, was it 2020, Speedy?
Yep.
It's been 6 years. I don't know if the Lakers have been in, and this goes back to like teams like the Yankees. But besides 2009, when the Yankees were pushing, it took, this is the longest drought the Yankees have not won a championship. It usually is 10 to 11 years the Yankees win a championship. It's been what, 16 years since the Yankees won, or 16 or 17 years since the last time the Yankees won. And you talk about dominance. You talk about strategic places where teams are contenders every single year. And I'm not saying the Lakers aren't a playoff team. And I think LeBron James never said that the Lakers aren't a playoff team. But championship bound, I think you need other aspects. Things need to fall together with these with the Lakers and championship organizations for it to work. And you can see it right now. Even off of waivers. Are players coming off waivers and wanting to go to the Lakers? No. They want to go to the Knicks. They want to go to the contending teams in the Eastern and Western Conference. OKC or one of those teams, because if they're crossing waivers, they want to go to the team that they have the best chance to win. And usually over the years, if one of those top end players or those veteran players come off of waivers, they usually want to go to the Lakers or they want to go to those elite teams, the San Antonio Spurs. It's not like that anymore. And I think the league has changed. Obviously, the contending championship teams have changed. And now you look at I'll say this. The NBA is a young man sport. If you look at when these teams really become the elite teams in the NBA, if you look at the Western Conference right now, Speedy, who are the top 3 teams in Western Conference?
OKC, Denver, and I believe it's San Antonio right now.
And who's the 4th team?
Houston.
Now, if you look at all 4 of those teams, most of those teams are young, right? Mm-hmm. They have veteran players, but they have a lot of youth on their rosters. The Nuggets have one of the most dominant centers, one of the most dominant players the NBA has ever seen. GSA is probably the best point guard in the NBA and was last year's league MVP with all the talent that they have over there. And then you go up and down Houston. Besides KD, that team is fairly young with a young roster. And again, you look at the Lakers, besides some of the young players, they've built their team around players that nobody wants. Nobody wants. DeAndre Ayton. Did anybody want him after you left Phoenix? He was traded from one place, and then he went to the Lakers. Nobody wanted him. Austin Reaves is a guy that is going to be a free agent this coming year. I don't think the Lakers are going to be able to afford him. Now, if LeBron James steps down or leaves, maybe they could afford him. But Austin Reaves is transitioning into a star player. But does Austin Reaves want to stay with the Lakers, knowing that he's not the go-to man or he's not the guy over there with the Los Angeles Lakers? And he's a draft pick of the Los Angeles Lakers. And if you look at the drafts the Lakers have had in the past, even when Magic Johnson was running the organization, Julius Randle was a draft pick. Is he there anymore? If we go up and down the rosters and all the draft stock. Not LaMelo Ball, Lonzo Ball, another top 3 pick. Is he still with them anymore? No. He's been a journeyman in the NBA. They have struck out on all these top picks that they've had over the years. And that has a lot to do with ownership. That has a lot to do with the executives there. There's no more Phil Jackson. There is no more team leadership over the years that has made the Lakers as dominant as they were. And you can see the difference on the way they play.
Yeah, I think the Lakers are kind of stuck in a weird in-between where they want to be still a team that doesn't want to operate on the way that, all right, we're just going to bring in these flashy trades and all the stars all at once. I think Pelinka still has done enough to build enough where they don't have to purge things like the Suns had to. They don't have to purge things like the Nets had to. And now you're seeing the Clippers will probably have to too. They didn't build like that. The Lakers were saying, okay, we're not going to be the LeBron Miami Heat where they had the big three, and then they had Mike Miller and Shane Battier coming off the bench that were absolutely just, they had their roles, but they weren't anything special. Like, I think the Lakers did well at not having to do that. At the same time, you mentioned it, they are kind of stuck where they should be the destination to go to. And yet they're kind of like the Cowboys in the NFL where teams will use their flashy name as leverage and go somewhere else.
They're not the Jerry West Lakers. When Jerry West was there, everybody wanted to come over there. And Jerry West would spin the wheel. And Jerry West was so very good at finding talent in the draft. Right. I remember when he decided to trade Vlade Divac for a young Kobe Bryant, a high school player. And he was a guy that worked Kobe Bryant out, got a chance to see Kobe Bryant before the draft came around when the Charlotte Hornets did eventually draft Kobe and trade his rights to the Los Angeles Lakers. They don't have that guy that is looking for that up-and-coming talent. And again, over the last couple of years, even look at the Clippers and what the Clippers did. The Clippers drafted GSA, and then they traded him over there to the Oklahoma City Thunder. I think the Clippers have drafted better than the Lakers over the years.
Yeah, the Clippers actually find these random young talent that's made them not, even when they were getting rid of their Lob City core, they were not like awful for a long stretch of time. Like the Lakers, when Kobe at the end of his career were really a bad team. That's why they ended up with so many early draft picks. They were number 2. They drafted Brandon Ingram 2016, Lonzo the next year, number 2, 2017. Yeah, you could say lottery stuff all you want. They were still one of the worst records in the NBA. The Clippers were not like that. Now the Clippers, that terrible trade, they're going to regret for a while, trading all the draft picks, trading also Jalen Williams in that deal too. And then SGA, who is a top 4 player in the league right now, just won MVP. That being said, the Lakers are still kind of stuck in between where because LeBron is there, they want to go after him. LeBron is not going to want to be part of a young team. That's why obviously they made the Anthony Davis trade. They traded Lonzo, they traded Ingram, etc. And now you're seeing the league trying to transition the other way, where I would say obviously OKC built a lot on that trade, those draft picks and stuff like that. You're seeing a core with the Spurs that obviously they got Wemby and they've signed some free agents, but they knew when to trade them and they built a core that way. Houston and the Nuggets are building around. Houston kind of built like OKC. The Nuggets built around one star. They've been pretty steady for a while. I guess they were the only one that maybe didn't have to make a drastic trade in order to rebuild. They just needed Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray, and they were able to build a pretty steady core after that. It took them a while to win a title, but they're doing it in the new model where I think the Lakers, they tried to shy away from the fact that we're not going to be the Brooklyn Nets, but at the same time, they still wanted to cater to LeBron. And I think Pelinka and the rest of those egos got in the way. LeBron got in the way where you got your one title, fine, but it's not the sustained success that they want.
Even this past year, they had a 2nd round pick. They didn't even have a 1st round pick. And the year before that, had Dalton Connect. And is he still part of the organization? Bronny James. I mean, look at the players that they've drafted. Max Christie. This is not Isaiah Jackson. None of these guys are really even a part of the organization anymore. And you could go back 10 years. I'm looking at this, some of the draft picks that they've had over the years. None of them panned out. The last guy that panned out, not for the Lakers, is Julius Randle. Think about it. Julius Randle that has jumped ship to many different teams, and he really didn't get developed until he went to play for Tom Thibodeau and the New York Knicks. So just think about that. They have had so many mistakes in the draft. And I think that when you look at LeBron James and what LeBron James is saying, he's being honest. This team is not a championship contending team. They didn't make enough moves at the trade deadline that gives you a reason to think that they are. And again, you look at the Knicks and what the Knicks did. They added Jose Alvarado. Alvarado's a guy that's going to give them defense. He's going to give them some offense off the bench, gives them that type of talent, fast-paced offense that Mike Brown's going to run. If you look at all the moves that were made by contending teams at the trade deadline, you can see there was a reason why they did it. The Lakers stayed put because obviously fighting injury with Luka Doncic, who, by the way, has not been healthy for the last 2 or 3 seasons, even with the Dallas Mavericks, and Austin Reaves, who looks like he's going to be a great player in this league. I don't know if the Lakers are going to be able to keep him next year because of the cap situation. So you wonder if you look at what LeBron James is saying, and maybe because of ownership, LeBron James took shots at the Buss family with his son and Bronny James, and saying, and then Buss, Jeannie Buss, she was on a podcast recently, and she said that LeBron James kind of forced the Lakers his hand to draft his son, and then he denies it. But of course, LeBron James is at the tail end of his career, and obviously controversy. He has a platform, and he's doing this because he has the power to do it, because he's been the face of the NBA for so many years.
Yeah, and Luka Doncic, the trade they made last year too, was kind of essentially gifted.
Luck.
Yes, because of the dumbass of Nico Harrison. So it's not like Rob Pelinka and LeBron
Or maybe
James.
the NBA just giving the Lakers an opportunity to get another superstar.
Yeah, and that kind of maybe conspiracy with Adam Silver and all that we talked about last year. Yeah, who knows? But again, they shouldn't be rewarded as an organization for saying, okay, this is actually this well-built Lakers team, like with Jerry West there, even in previous regimes too, with the 70s and the 80s, and those Showtime Lakers. Like those were a lot of, besides Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, those were a lot of homegrown guys that were building a team together that built that dynasty in the 80s too. So it's a weird just in between that they're stuck in right now. Now you're seeing a league in the NBA now that
the Lakers are the Knicks now. This is exactly what happened to the Knicks. They fell in a 25-year span where, yeah, they have some talents. They added Carmelo Anthony. They added this player. They added that player, Amari Stoudemire in free agency. But they didn't have enough. They didn't have enough talent around them, and they didn't have the right GM in place that was going to put him in the right position until Leon Rose came there. They had Donnie Walsh. Donnie Walsh was obviously let go. He went back to the Indiana Pacers, and they brought in stupid guys like you all know, Mr. Triangle Man himself, Phil Jackson. And they went on and on and on, bringing different guys in, and it just didn't work. And they tried to build rosters because of money. You have to build the roster the right way, and you have to have a plan. I don't think the Lakers had a plan. After they brought LeBron James there and made a trade for Anthony Davis, they haven't done the right thing for this organization. And I think the Buss family saw that, and that's why after a while, they were like, I don't want to deal with the fighting of the family. Let's just sell the team for $10 billion and walk away from this debacle of an organization that's fallen apart since Dad died.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Speedy, I was going to say, you said it earlier, Jerry Jones. This is like the Jerry Jones roster construction for the Lakers. If I'm going to make a cross sport comparison, it's not the Yankees. I mean, we can comment about the Yankees later, but
yeah, but the Yankees still sign a good amount. Like, how many times do you see the Yankees not get, like, maybe besides Manny Machado, like, not get the big name? Like, they still have gotten enough big names. Like, the Lakers are like the king of the almost big names.
It's like flashy piece. It's like the Cowboys. Let's get the flashy piece. Let's go trade for George Pickens because he'll make our offense great, but we still can't defend. So we're still not going to win enough games. And those are the kind of moves that they made, you know. And I think that getting LeBron and Luka together along with Reaves is great. Except none of them really defend. Not at this point in LeBron's career. He hasn't defended in a number of years. And he missed enough games already, Errol, that he's not eligible for All-NBA for the first time in his career.
I wrote a story about that. So
yeah. And so that's already going on. And then on top of it, so like they sold the team, Errol. Jeannie kept a job as president, and then as soon as they sold it, she fired her brothers. Got them out of the building because they're toxic. And then ranted about how she didn't like how the brothers catered to LeBron. And I would say that shit is hanging all over this season more than anything, is a big hangover. There's clearly, it just doesn't make sense. The roster construction's dumb. No one can, they can shoot and they can't defend. Or you have a guy like Marcus Smart who they bring in and can't shoot at all. But he's the one guy who's going to defend. It's not a logical roster construction. Is just flashy piece, like the Cowboys have done for a number of years. So I see that exactly what you're saying, and it's just he can't carry a team anymore. It's sad to watch. LeBron, I mean, I'm old enough to remember those Heat teams. Like that was just the sickest thing I think I've ever seen. Like it was that and the Golden State Warriors back-to-back dynasties. And it was like very different styles, but I would say the Heat one, it was just so impressive how high flying and like damaging they were.
They catered to LeBron James. They brought in JJ Redick, who was LeBron James's podcast advocate, and everything about LeBron James is if LeBron James gets what he wants, he's happy. And I'm not saying LeBron James is not a face of basketball, and he hasn't been a big name for basketball. He's used his connections and his ability to build businesses around his superstardom. And he's done it very, very well. Nobody's going to attack LeBron James on his way of making money and understanding how to build a brand through what he was as a basketball player, what he is as a basketball player. What bothers me about LeBron James is now that LeBron James is at the tail end of his career and he doesn't like what the Lakers are doing or haven't done enough for him to win his 5th championship, to tie the championships up with Kobe Bryant or even being compared to Kobe Bryant, it's pissing him off. So what is he doing? He's using the media. He's using, obviously, the platforms he's on to deteriorate the Lakers and their organization and what the organization has done over the last couple of years. And here's another thing that I've noticed about LeBron James that we've never recognized. LeBron James over the years has found ways to call out players, and not only teammates, but players in the NBA. Now LeBron James is not calling out other players in the NBA. He's just calling out his own teammates. And now it's starting. If I was a young player like Austin Reaves or any of the young players playing on a basketball team and knowing that his son is still on this team because of who he is or what his last name is, it would bother me as a Laker player. Why would I want to play for this Laker team if LeBron James is still there? LeBron James, I will say, looks a little bit slower, looks a little bit older, and also a guy that can't do the things athletically as he has in the past. Is he putting up numbers? Yes, because he's right now their go-to guy because there's no Luka Doncic, and Austin Reaves has not played healthy all season long. So, yeah, he's going to put up enough points because he's the best player on that roster. But that's not saying much when you look at the roster from top to bottom. If you look at the roster with just LeBron James right now, their second and third best players would probably not even be on a bench of other teams, or would be the 7th or 8th guy on the Oklahoma City Thunder or the New York Knicks or any of these top teams right now in the East and the West. That's how bad the Lakers are when you look at their rosters and the way they're positioned.
Yeah, I want to read one of the comments from a Pitch Grid pod in the comment section, kind of saying what you and I were saying, Fish, about Jerry Jones and the Cowboys. The Lakers are obsessed with only narratives and headlines, and yeah, that seems to be the case.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that because the Lakers. All right, what are the narratives for the Lakers? What is the headlines for the Lakers? LeBron James is making the headlines, not the Lakers, not the organization. And the only headline that I could see is, how does JJ Redick still have a job?
Yep. Basically because he's a puppet of LeBron James. And
I'm telling you right now, when LeBron James steps away and he retires or he decides to leave, he goes to the Cavaliers for one more year, maybe that happens. I could see JJ Redick getting fired right after that because JJ Redick is not good.
Yeah, we're never going to know like what type of coach like he really wants to be in his own style because he's going to cater LeBron too. I think we said it at the time, like a younger team probably would have been a better start for JJ Redick to see who he really is as a basketball coach compared to somebody like LeBron's puppet. Now, obviously it hasn't worked for Tyronn Lue with the Clippers because he hasn't been a very good coach since he's left the Cavs and being their puppet. But how many other coaches that LeBron got fired? Really only Spoelstra's had the success since LeBron's left. But again, they've been stuck in cap hell, so they're on the downtrends now too. So it's kind of a weird predicament.
Well, they're stuck in cap hell because of LeBron James. They decided to extend LeBron for 2 years. And what did they pay him? $100 million for 2 years. I think it was $52 a year. So they're in cap hell. But look at this roster. Do you want to play for a roster with DeAndre Ayton, Kobe Bulkin? Who the hell is that? What is this? Jackson Hayes?
Yep.
Bronny James? Luke Kennard? I mean, Maxi Kleber? Who the hell are these guys? I mean,
for Luka
they got Vanderbilt, don't they? I like that. I like Vanderbilt.
Right. Jeff thinks he's a stud.
I mean, if you look at the roster, Vanderbilt, Jared Vanderbilt. But if you look at this roster is not good.
No.
This is not a championship contending roster. LeBron's not lying. But here's the thing. If LeBron James wanted to win another championship, if I'm extending my contract for 2 years and I've made all the money, I'm a multi-billionaire. Why do I need the money? I would have taken the Tom Brady treatment. I would have taken $20 million a year for the next 2 years. That's $40 million, and take that money and invest it into players that's going to help us win a championship or give us an opportunity to win another championship. But it's all about greed for LeBron James. It's never enough. These superstar players are making millions and millions of dollars. I mean, besides baseball, I think basketball players are making more guaranteed money than any other sport. Think about it.
Errol, in the playoffs, if they started today, they're the 6th seed, they'd face the 3 seed. That's Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets if we started today. If they don't play defense, and they haven't played defense, Jokic is going to eviscerate them. It won't even be close. It could be a 4-game sweep. That's all if they don't play defense, because that's what we've seen.
I think you need a healthy Austin Reaves and a Luka Doncic. I mean, obviously it's going to be an offensive side game, but I would say that the Lakers do not know how to play defense. They don't really have defensive. Even DeAndre Ayton, he is not a defensive type of player.
At all.
Yeah,
that's why he got cut, because he couldn't play any defense. He was getting beat every time they pulled him out to the 3-point line. He couldn't find his way back into the shell of the defense. He was a high draft pick. He was supposed to be like the second guy on that Suns team, and he ended up getting cut.
Let me ask you guys a question. If you were playing with LeBron James and after the game he speaks to the media and he throws you guys under the bus, do you want to play with LeBron James? Do you? I mean, honestly, I don't care if it's the great LeBron James, one of the greatest basketball players to ever play the game. Some people say top 3. I think he's a top 3 player, right behind Michael Jordan, because of all the great things that he has done for the game of basketball. But the fact here is, did you ever hear Michael Jordan go to the media and throw players under the bus, teammates under the bus? He never did. He would speak to the players away from the media. He didn't go to the media and say, Dennis Rodman's got to play better. Scottie Pippen or Luke or Tony Kukoc has got to play better, or B.J. Armstrong or Horace Grant. You never. When he was at practice, he would viscerate them by talking down to them or punching them in the face. Go ask Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr knows the whole story. Steve Kerr has been on the documentary. Steve Kerr got punched by Michael Jordan, and Steve Kerr didn't attack. He didn't speak back to Michael Jordan. He showed Michael Jordan he took it. And Michael Jordan learned how to respect Steve Kerr and became very friendly with Steve Kerr. Michael Jordan never took shots of his own players or the organization. Michael Jordan spoke to very close people after the organization didn't do them right. The GM over there with the Bulls did not want to bring Scottie Pippen back. They wanted to trade Scottie Pippen to the Portland Trail Blazers. And Michael Jordan said, you know what, you trade Scottie Pippen, I'm walking away from the game of basketball. And that's what he did. He spoke. He spoke when he needed to speak. LeBron James now uses this platform to not only speak what he thinks is the truth about this team and this organization, but now he's throwing players under the bus. He used to throw other players that he played against under the bus. He doesn't do that anymore because he's not as good as them. I would say that LeBron James is James Harden right now. That's what he is. He's that type of player. Now, I'm not saying that he's not better than James Harden. I think he does a lot of things better than James Harden, but he's that type of player. What is James Harden averaging right now? What is he averaging?
23, 24.
That's what LeBron James is averaging. How many rebounds is he averaging a game?
I would imagine like 5 at most.
And an assist.
6 something.
Same as LeBron James. They're the same type of player. But I'll tell you this right now. I would take
25, 8, and 5.
25,
8, and 5.
I take James Harden right now. I understand. I'll take LeBron James because of his winning ways. And if I'm going to bet on somebody in a playoff game, I'm betting on LeBron James because he's proven to be a playoff player and James Harden isn't. But if you look at their talents right now, I'd like an older James Harden over an older LeBron James. I would. And that's why Cleveland made that move and trading for him, because they think they have a better chance of winning with him than LeBron James. And watch, if LeBron James goes to Cleveland next year and has to be James Harden and Mitchell's counterpartner, is that going to work? Because what's going to happen over there if he goes over there and these guys aren't playing at a top level? He's going to throw him under the bus. How is that going to work? James Harden didn't like the fact that Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving were talking crap about him over there with the Brooklyn Nets. And that's why he was no longer there. He didn't want to stay there anymore. And those were his two buddies. And Mitchell, he wasn't getting along with players, including the player that they traded away for James Harden. And Mitchell is one of those guys that can't handle the media and the junction of people talking about him. So how is that going to work? And they have a competent coach that actually knows what he's doing. So I don't know how this is going to work. And again, I'm not blaming the Lakers organization and making the move and giving LeBron James the money. I blame LeBron James. If LeBron James thought that this team had an opportunity to win, he should have taken less money and re-signed with the Lakers for 2 years and given them enough opportunity to go out there and bring in another 1 or 2 free agents that could help them win. Am I wrong or right?
Yeah, the other problem too, I think, with LeBron, this situation now, you're seeing a lot of these types of his generation type of players try to think they can still dictate everything. And I think other GMs now, not all of them, obviously not the Nets and not the Clippers and teams like that, but GMs have started to cater to that, say, we're going to have you as the finishing piece, not as the main piece to build around. The Rockets did that with Kevin Durant just recently. They traded for him, and they didn't have to give up much in the offseason outside of Dylan Brooks, who's played well, but they didn't have to give much besides that. Same kind of thing with James Harden just now. Now, I love it for Garland 1-for-1. No, I actually think a player like Reaves would have been a really good fit with the Cavs if he was healthy. Like, maybe that's the trade piece they go after. Maybe not James Harden, but even so, like, the Cavs have viewed that as a missing piece.
Don't you think that if LeBron James decides to not play for it, because I think he has 1 more year left on his contract, the Lakers decide to trade him to the Cleveland Cavaliers. I don't know what the Lakers get, maybe draft stock, draft picks, and he goes to, I mean, you keep Austin Reaves. You build around Austin Reaves and Luka Doncic,
right?
And you try to build around the draft, or maybe you add a Giannis in the long run because you might be able to get that move done or something like that. Now, again, Austin Reaves is, because of the year he's having right now, he's going to ask for, I wouldn't say a super max, but a max contract.
He'll definitely get a max contract.
He's going to get about $180 to $200 million a year. Think about what he is. And he was honestly a Laker. He was the last Lakers pick that actually panned out for them.
He was undrafted, Errol. He was they got him after the draft. He was supposed to go to Detroit. He got promised. They decided not to go with him in 2021. He's one of the best undrafted guys in the last couple of decades.
So to me, that's news to me. I didn't even know he was undrafted.
Oklahoma.
So I mean, Austin Reaves was a great pickup for them. But if you, like I said, going back to their past and what they've done in the last 10 to 12 years when it comes to draft picks, they've absolutely bombed. And again, this goes back to the Knicks. If you think about all the years, all the top draft picks the Knicks have had, when they had a chance to go after guys like Stephen Curry, who didn't fall to them. He fell one pick ahead of them, where if Steph Curry goes to the New York Knicks at 6, that trajectory would have probably changed the New York Knicks organization. Because if Steph Curry goes to the Knicks, maybe they're the Golden State Warriors. So I mean, I'm just throwing spitballs and hopefully it sticks.
Instead, we drafted Jordan Hill. See how it worked out for us.
Yes. Jordan Hill was a Knick for probably 3 years and eventually gone, as every other Knick. I remember the time the Knicks had 3 first-round draft picks. It was Wallace. There was a kid from Kentucky. They had 3 first-round draft picks. It just never panned out. And again, it's just the way the lottery works. And maybe the NBA didn't want the Knicks to have top-end picks. The best pick the Knicks have had in the last, I would say, in the last 15 years is R.J. Barrett and Porzingis. Porzingis eventually wins a championship with the Celtics, and R.J. Barrett is no longer with the Knicks. They traded him for OG Anunoby, which is a great move for the Knicks. But again, a guy that really didn't develop with the New York Knicks the way the Knicks wanted him to. So I'm just speaking what I see. The Lakers are turning into what the Knicks organization was after the 90s, an organization that reaches, brings in coaches, brings in GMs, or has a GM that absolutely doesn't know what he's doing. And now you're slowly, remember, the GM of the Lakers is Kobe Bryant's agent. Think about that. Kobe Bryant is the one that told the Lakers to hire him as the GM of the organization. He's been there ever since. Polanco, right? Or is it Pelinka? And Pelinka's been there for a while, and has he achieved anything since he's taken over for the team? He won a championship. He made the move for Anthony Davis, which eventually made them win a championship during COVID, the bubble years. But again, the Lakers have not been good. They have not drafted right, and that goes for the executive. Go look at what the New York Knicks have done over the last couple of years, and this is how you know they're competent. They find guys like Emmanuel Quickley at the end of the first round, who was a part of that RJ Barrett trade that brought in OG Anunoby. How about the second round? You look at the second round picks that they've added, Kolick and all these other McBride, all these other guys that they brought in from the organization. You have to understand how to draft players or find players in the later rounds of the draft. And the Lakers have not done that. What they did was they brought in Bronny James because it made LeBron James happy. So that I think has been a big problem for the Lakers is they haven't put their organization, and the organization hasn't put themselves in the position to succeed. All right, the NBA All-Star Game is right around the corner, and it begins on Friday with, of course, a couple new changes to the format. This year, Commissioner Adam Silver, who we absolutely love, and the league have decided on going back to the USA versus the world format with 3 teams and 2 USA teams, stars and stripes, and an international all-star team. Charles Barkley took shots at both LeBron James and Kevin Durant, saying they have turned the event into a mockery because they don't show any effort. Durant, who took offense, basically told Barkley, "I don't want your life." That's what he says, and took shots at him and other old heads, criticizing the Americans' effort, but not Jokic or Luka for doing basically the same. There will be several new events this year in the lead up of the game on Sunday, such as the HBCU Challenge, the Shooting Stars Challenge, and the G League All-Star Game that is separate from the Rising Stars Challenge. The dunk contest continues to struggle to get big stars to participate, with Jackson Hayes, the Lakers center, and the only starter of the bunch, as well as Spurs forward Carter Bryant, Heat forward Kashad Johnson, and Magic guard and son of former dunk contest winner Jason Richardson. Jay's Richardson. I don't know what that means, Speedy. In the three-point contest, rookie Khan Knubel, Norman Powell, Bobby Portis, Tyrese Maxey, Jamal Murray, Donovan Mitchell, Devin Booker, and Damian Lillard, who will compete despite not playing all season with a torn Achilles. Everybody looks forward to the skills competition and slam dunk contest. And when you look at the names that stick out to you, there's nobody on this list that excites me. I would have liked to see, and there's, again, some of the young talent that we've seen that has been drafted over the last couple of years. The last time I could remember that this was fun to watch was, I think, who's the Orlando Magic superstar that is now with the Nuggets?
Aaron Gordon.
And who was the other guy? From the Bulls. Levine. So it was Levine and Aaron Gordon. What was the last dunk contest that really stuck out to me that was fun to watch? And then if you remember in the past, and again, the Vince Carter time with Tracy McGrady, and those, you want to see the young superstars compete. Why hasn't Anthony Edwards put himself in the slam dunk contest? Now that LeBron James is walking away from the game of basketball, everybody wanted to see LeBron James compete in the slam dunk contest. Why doesn't he do it now at the tail end of his career? That would be fun to watch, to see the end of his career end up the way everybody wanted to see it in the beginning, in a slam dunk contest. I mean, the dunk contest always stands out. And again, you have guys over the last couple of years that are coming from the G League, has won multiple times. Nate Robinson, I remember, won 3 times in a row, or 3 times in his career as a dunker, because he was 5'8" and he could just jump high against Dwight Howard, who was coming out of what do they call it? Telephone, wherever he was coming out, booth, as a Superman and jumping. I mean, it's become a spectacle. It's not fun to watch anymore. Am I looking forward to this slam dunk contest? No, because none of these guys really stand out to me. And that goes to if you can't find these guys, if you can't find NBA players that can dunk or want to dunk, then you bring some of these street ballers in to compete against the NBA players. I would like to see a street baller, a New York or a Chicago street baller. I mean, I've seen guys like Shaquille O'Neal host slam dunk contests for guys that are more known for Instagram and all the different platforms that they're on, doing all these amazing, crazy dunks. I would like to see one of these guys compete against NBA superstars in a dunk contest. That would be fun to watch. The way they're putting this together makes absolutely no sense. As far as the USA World format, who cares? It's only, to me, it's just to draw the fan or have the fans or maybe even the players get to compete with each other, and maybe the world team knocks off the United States team. Because if you look at the talent on the world team with guys like Giannis and Luka and Jokic, I mean, the world team is much better than the United States team if you look at the talent. But again, as far as the All-Star game, it's just, honestly, it's just a perk. It's an opportunity. I think you make money playing in the All-Star game. I think these players make a certain amount of $100,000. So it's extra money for the players. It's put on your basketball card or put on your Wikipedia that you're a 6-time All-Star, a 5-time All-Star. I guess that's nice to have on your record if you want to be, a Hall of Famer. I mean, there's nothing that really makes the All-Star game weekend spectacular, except the extravaganza that it brings to the table wherever it's being held, all the after parties, all the opportunities to get to hang out with the players, or the players get to hang out with one another and party with one another, with their families. I honestly think that this should be rid of. I think the All-Star game, in not only just football, I think hockey should keep it, because I think hockey is still competitive. It's still fun. I like what the NHL did last year with USA and Canada. I think they should do that every single year, because it shows the competitive nature that teams want to play for their colors and their countries. That's cool. But this, with the basketball and football, and even baseball, I think the home run derby is stupid now. And even the baseball game, nobody plays hard. It doesn't mean anything. Get rid of them. Get rid of them. I don't know how far I want to put this for the NBA to friggin' understand that it's not competitive anymore. That's absolutely what I think of Adam Silver now. Adam Silver is a joke. And what he's done and what he's put together for the All-Star and even for the NBA as a whole, I like what he's done. I'll tell you this. Adam Silver and all these commissioners have found ways to bring in more TV deals, more money for players to make and owners to live off of, and really build the product with the new opportunities to make money. There's no question that he's done that. But me, Speedy, Fish, Jabba, any one of us could put that together. If we have a big brand, a very popular brand. Think about this. And I'll go back to the NBA players. The NBA players are the most popular on the social medias. If you look at LeBron James, you look at Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, if you follow them, you know that everybody is interactive with these guys. They're the most interactive out of all the athletes in professional sports. So the NBA has done very, very well working through social media and content. And they created platforms for these players to bring in opportunities to make money on and off the basketball courts. But when you look at the All-Star game and what the All-Star game brings, Charles Barkley is absolutely right. There is no more Michael Jordans or Larry Birds or Magic Johnsons. There is no more competitive nature. These guys are best friends. These guys are godfathers of each other's kids. These guys don't hate each other. They love each other. There's no attack by any of these teams or these players against one another. They love each other. And in the olden days, in the 80s and the 90s, Michael Jordan couldn't stand Isaiah Thomas. Isaiah Thomas couldn't stand Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan. I mean, Bill Laimbeer couldn't stand the Philadelphia 76ers and I don't know, Doc or Doctor, any one of these guys. I'm trying to think, pop into my head what I remember in the 80s and the 90s. Charles Barkley couldn't stand Shaquille O'Neal. Now they're buddies and they're brothers. In those days, in the 80s and the 90s, they didn't like each other. They didn't like Patrick Ewing. Couldn't stand the Chicago Bulls and Michael Jordan, and guys like John Starks couldn't stand Horace Grant on the Chicago Bulls. There's no competitive nature anymore. These guys are best friends. So to have an all-star game where there's no competitive, none of these guys want to compete against each other. Nobody wants to dunk because they're afraid of getting hurt. The three-point contest, that's great. Shooting three-pointers. All these guys, I could shoot a three-pointer. If I'm shooting 500 threes every single day, I'm not saying I can shoot them like Con Knuble, but I'm going to hit a pretty good lick of these shots if I'm shooting 500 shots a day. So I just don't think there's any competitive nature anymore. And if there's no competitive nature for the All-Star game and these skills competitions, then get rid of them.
Yeah, I was going to mention the dunk contest, I think, is something that can get overblown with like the type of injuries you can suffer too. Like you could low manage all you want, but a lot of the injuries that are in the NBA for a lot of these day-to-day things are either lower body injuries, ankle injuries, tissue, stuff like that. It's not something that's just achieved by, I'm going to fall down after a dunk or anything like that, or I'm going to do it. It's one thing if it's a leg injury on a liftoff type thing, but again, that's something that if you're a younger guy, you're going to be well conditioned for. That's why I think you're right. Anthony Edwards is probably something that's perfect. I'm not saying all the veteran guys should have to compete in the dunk contest.
Why doesn't Cooper Flag compete?
Well, he's hurt right now. I'm
just saying
he's actually hurt right
now. That's not what I'm saying. I understand he's hurt. Why doesn't he compete in the slam dunk contest? Even if he wasn't hurt, is he competing in the slam dunk contest? He's not.
Right. Yeah.
So that's not what I'm saying. Why aren't the young superstars going out there and competing in the big contests? So all the young fans get a chance to see how athletic and how gifted they are as players.
Yeah, the Anthony Edwards, the Wembys, guys like that.
That's not what I'm talking about.
Those are the guys that should be competing in the dunk contest because those are the big names.
Why shouldn't Cooper Flag compete in the slam dunk contest? Stop saying he's hurt. If he wasn't, he's not competing in it. I'm saying this. If you're a young superstar, you've been in a league for 2 or 3 or even 4 years, and you've never been in one of these competitions, and you have something to give to these competitions on the athletic gifts that you have, you should be in these competitions for not for your peers, but for the fans out there wanting to see you dunk, do a wheel, I don't know, reverse pump, slam dunk, or whatever the hell you call these crazy, weird dunks that you have. That's what I want to see. You want to entertain people. If you're not going to entertain people, you shouldn't have these competitions.
Yeah, and even international, too. Like, they're trying to push all this USA versus the world thing, too. Like, you could try to compete these kind of things with the dunk contest, too, with, again, somebody like Wemby, all these other international superstars that are coming. Obviously, Giannis is a veteran guy, so maybe he had his chance earlier in his career, but even so, like, that could uplift it. That could get these kids to watch in Greece, too. Like, you want to be able to brand it that way, and then you have all these guys that want to drop out, and that's what I was kind of going to get at.
They're not dropping out. They're not even getting offers.
And that's where you look at this generational gap that you're seeing that LeBron has brought into today. It's a lot of the LeBron generation started this with not wanting to do it. Yeah, and obviously there were some younger guys after that too, like you said, Aaron Gordon, Zach LaVine did after that. I think it's really the 2014 and before that, and 2003, between those two eras, those are the eras of the guys that were all these guys that said, I don't want to participate in this kind of thing, outside of Dwight Howard and a couple others that didn't want to do it. And now you're seeing it carry over into this generation where a lot of these guys are the ones that are outside of Anthony Edwards. They're not as outspoken. Now they're doing it a little more methodically. And I think that's where I think Kevin Durant's trying to get, why is Nikola Jokic and Luka Doncic not being slandered? Okay, but you're not doing it either, Kevin. So it's not something that you could just attack these international stars that are trying to grow their countries.
Does anybody want to see Jokic dunk? I mean, he's 260 pounds, and he's a 6'11", 7-foot man. I don't want to see him. Luka Doncic, he doesn't really have that athletic ability to dunk, but Cooper Flag, we've seen what he can do with a basketball, especially his dunking. If you look at some of the young superstars that we've seen, some of the young guards that they have, how about the kid Harper? Yep. Why don't we see him in a dunk contest? I would love to see young Harper in the dunk contest. Some of the young superstars that we've heard over the years, the athletic gifts that they have. Now, look at this draft class that's coming out in 2026-27. These guys are totally gifted, so talented. Are we ever going to see these guys in a dunk contest? The BYU kid or Cam Boozer or even the kid from Kansas? These guys are athletically gifted. Why are they going to be in the dunk contest next year? Or are they going to be just like all these other NBA players, you know what? I don't need to be in these contests. I don't have anything to prove. I'm making millions and millions of dollars. I earned the right to be here. I don't need to entertain the fans. Meanwhile, the All-Star games are there to entertain the fans, not hang out with your buddies or hang out with your family. You're there because you're an all-star, you're a superstar, you were invited to entertain the fans.
Yeah, and I think that's where you're seeing all these other events that are coming in, these secondary events. I think part of it wants to grow the diversity of the game too, obviously with the HBCU and some of the shooting stars, and the NBA wants to make it very inclusive, which I'm good on that standpoint too, but they're also trying to reach because they know that if you're not going to get young talent or if you're not going to get veteran talent to want to be able to give it their all, you're going to have the young talent shine in a different way.
Michael Jordan, when he was doing these dunk contests against Wilkins, Dominique Wilkins, and all that other stuff, Michael Jordan did it for the fans. He didn't do it for his peers. He went out there because he wanted to compete, and he wanted the fans to be wowed and wowed by his ability to soar through the sky. All right. Same thing with Vince Carter, the ability that he had. He knew he was athletically gifted, and he wanted to show everybody on a national stage that this guy could go out there and do dunks and show things that nobody's ever seen before on a nationally televised, event. And now you have all these young superstars that some people say are more athletically gifted than guys like Michael Jordan, like Kobe Bryant, like Vince Carter. And none of these guys want to compete in these games anymore, in these competitions. You know why? Because they don't want to get hurt and they don't care about the fans. That, to me, is a big problem. The NBA needs to step in. If this isn't going to work and Adam Silver can't get these guys to compete, they get rid of these competitions. Get rid of the All-Star game. I don't want to see flag football in the NFL anymore. They don't tackle. They don't hit. They don't do anything. They don't look like they play. They invite Shedeur Sanders and Justin Fields to play in these games that nobody gives a crap about because nobody else wants to play in the games. If these players do not want to compete and these players do not want to go besides hanging out with their peers and enjoying the extravaganza against, at these events, just watching all these self-proclaimed super or young players or half-ass second-round picks go out and compete in the dunk contest, then get rid of the dunk contest.
Yeah, and the other problem they have, too, is like when it's located in the season, too, where a lot of these players are already load managing as it is, and that's what this generation is, and they're going to be stuck doing it. It's not like you could say, all right, let's go push the event to the beginning of the season, because then you don't have a good enough sample of who actually should be all-stars and who shouldn't, even though it's just going to be a popularity contest anyway.
And I want to say something to all the fans. We're always trying to find stories that we can draw fans to kind of give our take, and it's right now with the transition of the NFL season, now that it's over, and now we're going to go into March Madness, and baseball's still not here, and you have hockey and basketball. Hockey right now it's on hold because they're in the Olympics. All the players are in the Olympics. So the only thing to talk about right now is the NBA. And LeBron James is a big story, and this stupid all-star extravaganza that's coming up this weekend that nobody cares about. I mean, nobody, because every single player, I don't want to hear about Jason Richardson's son in the slam dunk contest. This isn't Jason Richardson. So there's nobody that really stands out in the dunk contest. Yeah, the three-point contest. It's cool getting to see Con Knuppel and Mitchell and all these other guys. And now you get to see Damian Lillard come back to shoot threes because he's been out the whole season. That's great. But nobody cares about the three-point contest in these skills competitions. Everybody looks forward to the dunk contest. And by the way, the dunk contests have been horrible the last 4 years. Horrible.
So they have a stat, and I don't know if you know about this stat, Speedy. It's called the dunk score. And they measure like how good a dunk is in game, and that basically tells you who the best dunkers are. This year, the names at the top: Justin Champagny from Washington, Shaedon Sharpe, who is the guy that I personally would love to see in the dunk contest from Portland. I'm going to put up some of his dunks right now while we're talking about it.
He was like that at Kentucky too, but he barely played.
Unbelievable. And he's been playing pretty well. He's really developing. He just hammers it down on everybody. Jalen Smith, he's another guy that's a big dunker. Onyeka Okongwu is number 4. And Zion Williamson. Everybody knows Zion can dunk. I'd love to see Zion do one of these before he loses his ups, Brandon Miller has really high dunk scores. He's another real high flyer, young guy on the Hornets. Buzelis, we've already seen do it. He's somebody that's a good dunker. And then it's just, a bunch of guys we don't really hear from much,
Nobody cares about the All-Star game. Everybody cares about the skills competition. And the only thing that I look forward to in the skills competition is the dunk contest. That's all I look forward to. That whole All-Star weekend is completely ridiculous without a great dunk contest. And every single year for the last 3 or 4 years has been horrible to watch. You listen to guys like Kenny Smith and all the other guys, Shaquille O'Neal and Charles Barkley, when they talk about these dunks, and they're grading them 50s when they're not even great dunks. There's nothing impressive about these dunkers. And why? Because they're just grading it that high because there's nothing impressive about any of them. So
the Mac McClung dunks were good, except he wasn't an NBA player doing them. He was like a dunk specialist.
And McClung doesn't want to compete anymore. He's done it, 3-4 years?
Yeah.
He was dominant. As a matter of fact, my cousin and his brother got a chance to get to meet McClung. He trains out here. He does these dunk sessions out here on trying to create new dunks because he just loves to do it. And he got a chance to meet my cousins got to meet McClung, and it was pretty cool. I mean, I seen the picture. I'll actually send you the picture so you can post it up. But it's pretty cool. But man, I've heard McClung is a really, really nice guy. It would have been cool to see McClung compete until somebody beats him, but I don't think anybody is going to be able to beat this kid, and because there's nobody anywhere close to the talent in these dunk contests with McClung. Even these guys that we see that were the list of guys that are going to be in the dunk contest this year, I don't think I'm excited about any one of them. So I don't know. It's horrible. I'm not looking forward to the NBA All-Star weekends. And again, this is probably the turning point of the sports year because, like I said, the NHL is on hold. They're at the Olympics. The NBA is the only thing going on. Baseball's pitchers and catchers are coming up, but baseball doesn't start for another probably 3-4 weeks until spring training. So there's really nothing to talk about baseball. And March Madness is exciting because it's 4 weeks away. But again, this is like the stalling part. I mean, the Masters, isn't the Masters coming up?
That's April. That's right after March.
Oh.
Yep.
So, this is probably the worst time when it comes to sports. So you're reaching when it comes to sports and radio and television because you're trying to find something to talk about.
It's this time, and then the worst, I think this is the second worst. The worst is definitely middle of July baseball all-star break when there's literally just nothing else. There's no football yet. Basketball and hockey are over. There's nothing on.
Well, Pitch Grid Pod says the Premier League, and he's right. It is heating up right now.
I'm sorry. Soccer is football is heating up.
Yeah, European football. And he's right. This is the perfect time to talk a little bit about the Premier League. And maybe we should do that. Maybe we should bring on an expert when it comes to European football and talk about the Premier League, because I know when I speak to Jeff, he says this is the best time to bet on European or soccer, whatever you want to call it, because this is a time for the championships and stuff like that. So
I love betting on overs of 2.5. It's so much fun to watch. Sorry, I just can't do it. I love playing soccer as a kid. I was really good. I was a center forward and I was a goalie, and I dominated until everyone got bigger, faster, and stronger than I was, and that was it for me. But I love the game. I never really understood that as a spectator thing, except during the World Cup and stuff. I've watched it. I don't know, Errol. I'll try. I'll try to learn some Premier League for you if you think we need to talk about it, but.
We might have to with everything that's going on with basketball. There's like nothing to talk about.
Well, there's so much drama with these divas in the NBA. They like to keep us busy, So
definitely divas. All right, ladies and gentlemen, concrete jungle carousel.
All right, we're gonna start this. This is gonna be a new regular segment we do, guys. Whenever there isn't any major New York stories, we're going to have like a New York, wrap it up, talk about everything in New York segment. We're calling it the Concrete Jungle Carousel. So here we go. We're going to start it off, and we're going to move it in to the first topic of it, which is basketball. We'll start with the Knicks and Nets. The Knicks They just picked up somebody. The Spurs had just released Jeremy Sochan and was bought out, and he's expected to sign with the Knicks when eligible. He's 6'8", 22 years old. The Spurs have a lot of young talent. He wasn't getting any reps. He's basically at the end of his rookie contract type of a deal. He gets to try to pick it up with the Knicks. I feel like there's a place for him in that rotation.
I love the move because, one, he's a great rebounder. He's a great defender. And he's going to put a lot of pressure. And he's another guy. He's another Josh Hart. He's going to go up for rebounds. He's going to be aggressive. And that's what they did when they brought in Jose Alvarado and they brought this guy. Now they're bringing this guy in. They're going to give you that grit that the Knicks have had problems all season having. These guys, and I'm not saying that some of the guys that are OG Anunoby but OG Anunoby doesn't have grit, or Miles, Bridges doesn't have, I almost said Miles Bridges, but Mikal Bridges doesn't have grit. But there are guys like Karl Anthony Towns or even Jalen Brunson. They don't play defense. They're offensive type of players. And when you bring in Jose Alvarado or you bring in a guy like Sochan, these are the guys that are going to be able to defend, and they're going to be able to put pressure on the best offensive players on the opposing teams.
Yeah, 6'8", really good long defender, good versatile defender, can play both the 2 and the 3. Maybe in a smaller bench lineup with a 4 could work in certain matchups. And his offensive game was just a bit bad this year, but was 11 points per game. Pretty solid, not as much 3-point shooter, but decent inside shooter, that it could give a little bit as well. Maybe as a second or third bench option on the offensive side if you need to do it. And I think Mike Brown's going to make that kind of thing work because he actually plays those younger guys. He's still very young, 22 years old. Definitely someone they could bring back on a shorter deal as well, even after this year.
Before we move away from the Knicks, we got to talk about Alvarado a little bit more. This guy just went 8 for 13 from the field. All 13 of those shots were 3-pointers. Yep. He ended up putting up 26 points. He had 5 steals. They call him Grand Theft Alvarado for a reason. There was one possession, Errol. He took a shot. He bricked it. They get the rebound. He steals the ball at half court, gets another shot, doesn't get it again, steals it again at half court, and instead of shooting, gets the assist on a 3-point in the corner. This guy's a dog. This guy's awesome. And he said that he's spending the All-Star break in the lab with Mike Brown. He's a Brooklyn native. I mean, pump this into my veins, man. This is the best thing you can get at the trade deadline.
He grew up a New York Knicks fan. He grew up around Madison Square Garden. This was the place he wanted to play for. There was no other team he wanted to go to. And now he has the opportunity to play for the colors that he always grew up wanting to play for. And at MSG, and from all the fans, he's a hometown kid. His family goes to the games, and you can see the aggressive nature, the speed that he puts on the court, on the basketball court. He plays that Mike Brown type of offense up and down the court. He was the perfect match, the perfect fit to what the New York Knicks were looking for defensively. The problem last year against guys like Tyrese Halliburton is they didn't have a guy that could defend him, get up under him, and make him force him to do things he was uncomfortable to do. Now they have that guy, and they have a player option next year. I expect a Jose Alvarado to be a Knick for a very, very long time. He's still fairly young. I love the kid, and he's what you want as a New York Knicks fan. He's that grit. He's got everything you want as a New York basketball fan. So it was a slam dunk for Leon Rose, and another absolute slam dunk, home run, grand slam for that executive bunch of Leon Rose and Worldwide West.
Yeah, you also have a defensive lineup towards the end of the games that really could work when if you're up by 10 or something, you could really just focus on that, give Brunson some rest even then, when you could put when McBride comes back in the playoffs, you could put him there at the 1. You could put Sochan then at the 2 with OG Anunoby at the 4 and
Mitchell Robinson
at the 3 and Robinson at the 5. Right. You have that kind of thing for like a defensive game ending up by 12 with 3 minutes to go lineup in the playoffs.
I love it.
That's what it is. It's a playoff lineup. That's what we haven't had with Tibbs. Tibbs just had one lineup. You know what I mean? Like, that's just how it was. Now we have a mix and match for whatever you throw at us. We've got an answer for you. I love it. Let's move on to hockey. Obviously, hockey's at the break right now. So we're just kind of going to talk about the... Oh, where is it? This one should be the hockey one. It is not working. That's wonderful.
That's all right.
We'll just leave it up like that. So, Olympic hockey break. So I got some... The only real news is... I mean, well, I guess quickly, there was a trade a couple of weeks ago between the Islanders and Devils.
Yep.
Andre Palat going to the Islanders. Obviously, a longtime player. Devils before that, I believe he was with the general manager, Darsh, in Tampa, right? So he was real good in Tampa. He's a veteran, 34 years old. Makes sense to fill out the lineup. Also traded for Siplikov. The Devils in return. Devils are taking all reclamation projects at this point in the season.
Oh, it was a slam dunk for the New York Islanders. First of all, he won a Stanley Cup. He has an understanding how to lead. And Darsh was a guy that wants to bring his own guys in because of the type of GM he wants to be there with the New York Islanders. And Palat is a guy that can put the puck in the net. He's scored a lot of goals in the playoffs over the years with the Tampa Bay Lightning. And like I said, they're trying to build a course of talent and veteran players that can give them that boost that they're going to need if they make that playoff run. I think it was a slam dunk for the Islanders, and they really didn't give up anything for him. So actually, for the trades that the Islanders made, they got more draft picks back. I think they got a third-round draft pick back for Palat, and they got Palat, who scored more goals than the kid that they traded, Max. I forget his last name, Chavalov. So I think it was a slam dunk for the New York Islanders.
Yeah, Palat is, even when he was like a third-line player on the Lightning in the playoffs, for their first stretch of that, were one of their best playoff scorers. There was a reason they kept him for a while when they had to get rid of Kaloran and Tyler Johnson from that their kid line at the time. So he has the playoff experience that definitely a team like the Islanders could use with a very young team overall. And again, we've seen obviously Barzal and Horvat have been an experience in the playoffs, but this is a 2 and 3 group that probably is carried by a lot of youngsters.
He was a big part of that Stanley Cup championship team.
Yep.
I think if I'm not mistaken, he scored like 9 goals on that run. He could score goals in the playoffs, and I think that's the way Darsh is looking at it. If you make that playoff run, you need a guy that's been in those situations and can help you win. And I think Palat is that kind of guy.
It makes a lot of sense. I think that's a great addition. I was living in Tampa. I got to see the end of that run by that team. That was an awesome team. He was a big part of it. The Rangers are clearly going to sell off Vincent Trocheck before the trade deadline, after the roster freeze of the Olympics. Right now, we're just hearing who the suitors are. Probably smart that they waited till after the deadline. No reason to wait on Panarin, get him out of town. They weren't going to get a ton for him anyway. But they should get a lot more for Trocheck. Contract's more manageable. I think he's under control as well for an extra year. Speedy, correct me if I'm wrong about that.
3 more years after this.
So this is like a real deal. And he is a good face-off man in the middle. He's a two-way player. I love watching him play. I am going to hate to see him go. But what can they get from him? And the 3 teams I'm hearing, the top 3 are the Mammoth, the Red Wings, and I'm hearing the Wild and Billy Guerin.
I could see them getting a top 6 player for a Trocheck and maybe a 3rd-round draft pick. They're going to get a lot back for him. First of all, he's a two-way player. He's a great face-off guy. And he's a guy that you could just put right into your offense and your defense, no matter where he goes. The Mammoths, any one of those teams. Minnesota would be the best fit because they're a contender. He's been a part of those kind of teams with the Carolina Hurricanes. I could see somebody like that, the Minnesota team, Wild, going to make a move for him because they got a lot of players, a lot of talent over there, and their farm system is very strong. They're going to get a lot back for Trocheck. 1, he's still fairly young. 2, he's a great two-way player. To me, out of all the guys that are up to trade, he's the best one because he could do the most out of all the players that are available.
Yeah, we were talking about having a good playoff identity, and Minnesota's lacked that for a while despite having good talent on that team. I think somebody like Trocheck, who not only wins faceoffs but hits very well for a center as well, would be perfect for them. And Fish, I've heard that they've been eyeing him for like 2 months now. They've been just waiting for the Rangers to kind of think that they're not there because the Rangers were kind of stuck in mediocrity even in December, and Minnesota always liked it. And then Detroit, they have a lot of ex-Rangers they've traded with. They've either signed or traded with them over the years too. So that wouldn't surprise me either. They're another young team on the rise. They were looking to make their mark finally, and I think now maybe they feel like they have a core to do that. But I agree, Minnesota kind of makes that perfect sense because they have not won a playoff series despite having many good young cores. Since Patrick Waugh coached the Colorado Avalanche in 2013, Minnesota beat them as a wild card team. That's the last time they won a playoff series with a lot of good players.
The only thing I want for the Rangers, if they're going to do this rebuild, is build up the middle, please. Please get centermen that are young, that can win faceoffs.
They've been
get
rebuilding.
defensemen.
They've been rebuilding since 1994.
They've been doing it stupid, though. They get winger after winger, looking for a big contract.
And every time. So would you rather Chris Drury make that decision making over the next couple of years, or do you bring in another GM or a young GM that actually knows what he's doing and has been successful as an assistant GM or working with the executives for other organizations? Look what the Islanders did. They fired Lou Lamoriello because he just couldn't cut it anymore, too old, and they brought in Darsh. And there were a lot of questions on some of the guys that they were going to bring in, especially some of the suitors that they were looking at. The Islanders made the right choice. They brought in a younger guy that's never had the opportunity to build a team, that has won with another organization for a significant amount of time. I think that's where the Rangers go. Chris Drury is not the guy. Chris Drury is not going to build this team into to a contender team. If you look at what he's done in the last 5 years, he's hired coaches, he's fired coaches, and he just hasn't put this team and this organization in the right place. As a matter of fact, he's given these guys no trade clauses, and they're harder to move, as we are seeing right in front of our eyes. You look what they traded. Well, look what they got for Panarin. You can say whatever you want. They got nothing for one of the best players in the league. And I know he's 34, but he's one of the best offensive players still in the league. He has, 57 points going into the All-Star break? The Olympic break? The guy's going to get closer to 100 points than you think. And the Rangers got nothing for him. And you're going to trust Chris Drury to move Trocheck and get a lot back from him? I think that, to me, it's just an absolute debacle. And this is why I think James Dolan is one of the dumbest owners in professional sports.
Fish, you mentioned it too. Like the way you win in hockey, no matter where your star players lie, you need to have three depth of centers. Like every team that's won the Stanley Cup, I think in the last 15 years have had that to some capacity. Yeah, you need defensive depth too. Obviously, you see Vegas and St. Louis teams like that, but you have other teams like Pittsburgh that doesn't have great defensive depth that can still win cups. Goalies, you can just have random guys break out for them. Look at Vegas, like Aiden Hill came out of nowhere. They had 4 different goalies starting the playoffs.
Do you trust Chris Drury?
I'm not saying I trust.
Do you trust him? If you were running this organization, you own this team. Do you go into the offseason with a rebuild offseason and trust that Chris Drury is going to make the right decisions?
I am not making a trust in Chris Drury. I'm also not trusting the Rangers' prospect development either. That's the other problem they have to solve right now, whether it's their assistant coaches, the scouting staff, whoever is involved in that has to go too, because there's too many bad prospects that have good prospects.
And when you bring in a GM, the GM hires his own scouting, his own people, and Chris Drury needs to go just as much as his scouts and the decision makers behind the scenes, because they have failed this organization.
Don't you think Chris Drury just knows how to kiss Dolan's ass better than anybody? He survived that entire situation with John Davidson earlier on. They kept him instead of those guys. So it made you think, if he was kind of playing to the boss a little bit, kind of, double dealing a little, kind of trying to get the job for himself, gets the job for himself. I don't know. What do you think? He's a big, JD and the Sure Shots blues fan, going to see Dolan and his band out on the island, up in the North Shore, see him just, keep a beat, sing some songs.
I personally, when I grew up as a hockey player, I knew the Drury family and I knew Chris Drury. He wasn't a likable person. I didn't like his father. I didn't like his cocky, personality. He thought he could play professional baseball just as much as he played professional hockey. He was very conceited, and I think that's the same type of person, the same type of GM he is right now for the New York Rangers as an executive. I don't think he knows what he's doing. I don't think he knows how to build an organization in the right state. He has brought in Peter Laviolette, who won a Stanley Cup, who's one of the greatest coaches of this time and one of the greatest top 10 greatest coaches of all time. And then you bring in a guy like Sullivan, who's also a very consistent, very popular head coach in the NHL that's won 2 Stanley Cups with the Pittsburgh Penguins and very successful. And again, the coach of the United States hockey team. So he's a very successful personality behind the bench. And I don't know how long he's going to be safe at his position, because if you trust Chris Drury, that it's not going to last more than 2 or 3 years with that coach if they're not winning. So they're going to fire Sullivan, who was there with the Pittsburgh Penguins for how long? Over 10 years with Sidney Crosby and Malkin. That's a problem when that a coach can't stay there more than 2 or 3 years. that there's something going on with the executives and GM up on top.
And they're always going to make the coach the scapegoat, especially for ones that don't develop the young players like Galan had trouble doing for a while. But Mike Sullivan actually, it's pretty good, not great, but pretty good with the younger players. It's the veteran players that have all fallen off badly this year, and that's why they're going to have to trade.
Has he been good with the younger players? Lafreniere's been hard.
No, not Lafreniere. I'm talking about the Matthew Robertsons and Will Cooley, guys like that, the second-tier prospects. Lafreniere, I think, is busted as it is already. I think there's no coach that's going to save him right now. He had his chance, I think, 3 years ago, was his best chance to resurrect his career. And look at that 2024 team, Fish. Like, they finally get the center depth that can finally win faceoffs, so they're not getting even strength, so they're a very fluky President's Trophy team.
They were definitely fluky, but, you know, a couple of years ago, Lafreniere was just, like, everywhere. He was hustling. He was making plays at the net, and he just stopped doing that. He just did it for one postseason.
Peter Laviolette, and even Capo Caca was playing under Peter Laviolette very, very well. And how long did Peter Laviolette stay with the New York Rangers? What was it, a year and a half?
Yeah,
and they
fired locker room debacle. And
because
he's the scapegoat
because of the veteran players. Panarin couldn't control his own attitude. Yeah. You had guys like Kreider, who's a crybaby. And by the way, I told the Beef and all the Ranger fans, when Kreider scored 52 goals that season, they should trade him in the offseason. No, we can't trade a 50-goal scorer. He's the heart and soul of this team. Now he's playing with the Anaheim Ducks, and he's playing pretty well. The Anaheim Ducks is playing pretty well. That whole organization has has good leadership and understands what it takes to win with veterans and young players. The Rangers, no matter how young they get and how many veterans they have, if the guy up top doesn't know what he's doing, they're never going to succeed.
All right, let's move on to baseball. It's been a silent, mostly, offseason for the Yankees. You know that the pitching staff, you're getting guys back, but they're not ready. And on top of that, today we found out that last year's breakthrough performer in the playoffs, Cam Schlittler, has tweaked his back. Now, they don't expect him to be out for a while, but the depth is really worrisome. Garrett Cole and Clark Schmidt are probably not coming back till closer to the All-Star break after going through the Tommy John and recovery from it. Carlos Rodon had off-season surgery. What was it, bone spurs or something like that, Speedy? Something along those lines to clean up some stuff. So he's going to be out for probably the first month or so as well. So that's 3 guys that you're expecting in the rotation that you're not seeing right away. Now Schlittler's banged up. So now you're already going deep into it. Kind of makes you feel like maybe you should have added a little bit more depth this offseason.
I don't think the Yankees going into the season are going to worry about their pitching staff. It's a long season. It's 162 games as expected. And if we had Jabba on the show right now, he'd probably say the same thing. Preseason, players are going to go down and all the way into the beginning of the season. I expect by June, the Yankees will be 100% healthy. They got to compete early into the season. They might have to, scrap in certain games and put up, a lot of runs because their pitching staff doesn't have as much depth as they would have with the talent that they have in the beginning of the season. If Cole was healthy and Rodon was healthy and Schlittler was healthy, I think the Yankees are going to be fine. They added Weathers. Weathers will be put in that rotation right now. And I think that as we move forward, going into spring training, we're going to see what the Yankees have in their farm system. They have 2 young pitchers that one of them they think that could be called up at some point this year that they could put in the bullpen before he becomes a starter. And they've got guys like Spencer Jones. We got to see what he can do in spring training. He looked pretty good in spring training last year. He was up and down in AAA last year. And again, I want to see more of Dominguez. I want to see some of these guys that have not fully developed with the Yankees over the last couple of years. I want to see them come out strong early in the season, where if the Yankees decide that these guys are going to be the backbone of the team or trade pieces in the long run, they could get a lot out of them.
Yeah, you don't want, no matter what scenario for the Yankees, you don't want to have to rush Schlittler back at any cost because, the Yankees have enough, I think, between organizational and the hybrid starter relievers types to make it work creatively in the beginning of the season until Rodon comes back. You don't want to have to rush Schlittler if he's really not up to it, because we've seen the Yankees do this a lot. When they signed Montez, they traded for Montez. They did the same thing. He pitched 1 game with the Yankees, and then he was hurt the rest of the year. Severino had all those injury issues at the beginning of his career, so you don't want to have to do that kind of thing with a young player.
I will say this, for the Yankee fans out there throwing Volpe under the bus, I think you got to give Volpe another full season, see how he stays healthy. Maybe he wasn't 100%. They said he had shoulder problems all throughout the season. He did have shoulder surgery in the offseason. Maybe that was the reason why he couldn't throw the ball to first, and it had problems with his woes defensively. I think he's much better offensively than he's been over the last 2 years. If he can hit 240 or 250 and give you 25 home runs and about 60 to 70 RBIs as a shortstop, you're getting a lot out of the kid. I still think he is going to be a part of the future of this New York Yankee team, either as a shortstop or a second baseman. I do not believe Jazz Chisholm will be there at the end of this season.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, too. You bring up the offensive capabilities that the Yankees could have when it comes to some of their young players finally breaking out. If they can all do it, maybe not all at once per se, but Wells had spurts. Rice had spurts last year. If Volpe could have the spurts like he did at the end of the season when he started to play well, that's enough for they could be able to weather the storm with some of those back-end pitchers to make it work. Fish, you mentioned Weathers, too. Then you also got Heel and Warren. Like, those are enough of capable that still a lot of teams don't have right now in the American League, that they can still at least weather the storm.
And watch out for Clark Schmidt. I think Schmidt looked really, really good early last season, and then he got hurt and he was out for the rest of the season. This kid has a tremendous amount of pitching. He can throw curveballs and sliders, and he's got a great fastball, 4-seam and 2-seam fastball. He's got a ton of pitches, and this guy, when he figures things out, I think he could be a very dominant pitcher for the New York Yankees. He has the stuff to be a third starter on this roster. Really, when you look at Schlittler and Cole and even Fried. So he's got that kind of talent. I think the Yankees are going to be fine. I do believe the Yankees should have added a little bit more depth into free agency. I think Fish is right about that. But they added Weathers, and Weathers is a guy you could put in the rotation until these guys come back, and then you can move him in the bullpen.
Yeah, you just worry about them falling behind the 8 ball a little too much in the first month and a half of the season before they get some of this depth back.
They never do, Fish. They never.
No, I know. No, I know. They usually start hot, right? They usually start hot, and then it's something more like midsummer.
Yeah.
Kind of the Aaron Boone swoon over there that we
get into a cold spell where they lose 12 out of 15 games, and everybody's like, the Yankees are in trouble. The rotation is not as good as everybody thought they were, or the bullpen looks worn out. It's usually right after the All-Star break where the Yankees go on this cold spell of like 12 out of 15 games, and they look really, really bad, and then they pick it up, maybe because of injury, or maybe because they thought that they were just going to run away with the division like they did last year, and then the Blue Jays got back into it, and then eventually beat the Yankees out and winning the division and winning the American League. So I'm not worried about the Yankees. I expect the Yankees to win 95 to 96 games this year. They still have a tremendous amount of talent, and I really think it all depends on Aaron Judge's health. If Aaron Judge is healthy, they're going to be able to compete. He's that good of a player. He changes everything when it comes to their lineup. I think he adds that power that you need and that offense that you need to win games.
A little X factor for the Yankees offense. You didn't really get much out of him last year. He struck out a lot. But Ryan McMahon has been an all-star in this league, in the National League when he was with Colorado. Obviously, Coors Field aided a little bit. But that guy has got pop. And that guy plays excellent, as we saw, excellent third base. So if they can get him to fix his swing in a little bit, I mean, this could be like another Brocious type story with this guy. He plays that kind of defense.
Problem with him is just like Todd Helton, he played in Colorado. And Todd Helton was good when he left Colorado, but not as good. Everybody knows in Colorado, you get more pop. There's you're elevated. There's more home runs that go out of the stadium. So I don't. I'm not saying McMahon can't be good for the Yankees. He's a pretty good defender, but he's a guy that the Yankees have reached on. And again, the Yankees like making trades with Colorado over the years. If you look at what Brian Cashman likes to do, it's usually Colorado and Pittsburgh are the two teams that he likes to trade with.
All right, let's talk about the other side of the city and the Mets, who just lost Francisco Lindor for 6 or so weeks with a broken hamate bone. And things happen in threes, Errol, because within 24 hours, Francisco Lindor, Corbin Carroll, a star player, outfielder for the Diamondbacks, and Jackson Holliday, second baseman for the Orioles, all broke their hamate bone, which is, I guess, happens when you grip the nub of the bat too tight. I don't know. It's just so weird that they have it. Apparently, you have to remove it in surgery, and you have to heal, and it just takes a while to get the power and strength back in your wrist. Not exactly what you want for your star shortstop to start a season.
No, and again, Lindor was going to play in the WBC. I guess he's not playing in the WBC. I know he was looking forward to doing that. And again, the New York Mets, it's 162 games. They're going into a season where they gotta start strong, and they usually do. In the last couple of years, the Mets start up very, very, very strong, and then they fall off as the season progressively moves forward. Last year, they got very, very hot. I think they won 20 out of their first 30 games, and they were playing great baseball. And then all of a sudden, they got into a cold spell. And the Mets coach, Hernandez?
Carlos Mendoza.
Carlos Mendoza. He might be on a hot seat early in the season. If he doesn't start off strong, they could fire Mendoza. And again, the Mets they spent a lot of money in the offseason. Once again, as Cohen was reaching, he brought in, Devin, and he brought in some pieces. And this roster, you put a guy that's never played first base on first base. You put a guy that's never played third base on third base. This team is all scrambled. And really, it's like a puzzle for the Mets. They're trying to connect the dots, and hopefully they connect the right way. I don't know how it's going to work, but I think they have enough pop in this lineup with some of the additions that they made that if Lindor's out for 6 to 8 weeks, they'll be fine offensively.
Yeah, I think they have enough. I think Lindor, it's the same thing I was saying with the Yankees. They just have to make sure that a guy that's been one of their most durable players that we've seen since he's come over here with the Mets, you can't have him all of a sudden be an injury tailspin when you have all these other fragile question marks probably outside of Simeon. Like the rest of your team, there's a lot of fragile question marks in that lineup. Alvarez, obviously, Bichette, who they bring in. A lot of these guys just can't stay healthy, so they cannot make that same kind of mistake with Lindor. Now, obviously, the question is, all right, if he can't play, who plays shortstop? And that's where the rotation will have to come in. But you have enough time to experiment.
The problem with the Mets is they have guys playing out of position. They've never played these positions before in their careers, and now you're shifting them. Now that you're a New York Met, that is the problem. I don't think it has anything to do with Bo Bichette being injury prone or any of these guys, Alvarez. I think what bothers me if I was a Met fan is, how is this going to work? How is it, especially you're on the diamond, and you for the last couple of years, your infield has been not good. And now you have guys like Bo Bichette, who's been a consistent, defensively talented shortstop. Now you're moving to third base. Does he have the arm strength to get it to first? Is it going to be like an Alex Rodriguez? And then you have a guy that has been a second baseman practically his whole career, and you're moving him to what? First base? He's never played first base, and first base is one of the hardest positions to play on the field. So I don't know how that's going to work either, even going into the offseason knowing that that's the position you're going to play. So that's the problem. I don't think the Lindor problem is going to be that much of a problem because it's a long season. Lindor will be back probably around, I would say, May. So it's just the start up of the season. You're missing the spring training and a quarter of probably all of April, and then you're going to be back. So I don't think that's going to be the problem. The problem with the Mets is the corner positions, the first and third base position. How is that going to work?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Even if Lindor is hurt for an extended period of time, at least try to lock into one philosophy, because again, it's going to be tough to tell if you're going to have enough of a sample to judge if one guy is going to be able to adapt and be comfortable with a different position.
Don't you think Lindor would be better at third base than Bo Bichette?
No, don't move Lindor. No, I would say
why? He has a better arm.
What I'm saying is lock into one way of thinking. If Bichette's going to play third, let him play third. Let Polanco play shortstop as a substitute if you need to. Let Simeon play shortstop if you need to. Lock into one philosophy. Don't get cute, I think, with trying to rotate everyone at shortstop unless it really doesn't work badly.
Well, I think that you put the guy at third base that has the better arm. Lindor has a better arm. I would have shifted Lindor if Lindor wanted to move to third base. If he's the captain of the team and a leader of the team, which everybody says he is, move the guy with the better arm at third base. Keep Bo Bichette in the position that he feels more comfortable on, because everybody says that Bo Bichette might not have the arm strength to get that ball to first base, as most third basemen do have that arm strength. So
Simeon is already going to be comfortable enough at second, where I think you want to leave him there at some point. That's why I'm saying, get the Bichette third base experiment started. You can rotate from shortstop, or if you want to try to experiment within the outfield like you like to do and put Luis Robert and all these other guys elsewhere, or Beatty, same kind of thing. If you're going to commit to keeping him, commit to one position.
Beatty's a bench guy. He's not a starter.
Which is sucks because he started to come on really well last season, and now they're really funneling his position away with overloading on too many infielders.
Don't you think that's what they're going to do, though? Play Beatty and move Bichette to short until he comes back, and probably put Semien as the leadoff hitter for Lindor. You know, I would imagine that works. They just got to hope Semien doesn't suck like he sucked the last season and a half, and that Bichette can hold up, you know, physically.
Never going to happen.
It's not going to happen as much if Bichette can't stay healthy. I think Bichette will later in the season start to DH more too if he doesn't find a position.
I don't think Bo Bichette has the arm strength to get that ball to first base.
Well, I'm more worried about his range at shortstop, like his side-to-side range. That's why Lindor has to stay at short. No one else is going to be able to get the ball in the hole at the same level. Even, you know, the arm strength be damned, you know, on something like that. It's more about, like, can you get to the ball? That's why they always ripped on Jeter at the end of his career, because he didn't get to the ball. You know, it wasn't his arm strength.
So what I would do is move Semien, who I think can play shortstop still. He's a great defender. Move him to shortstop, move Bo Bichette to second base, and move Lindor to third. That would make more sense. He has the best arm strength on this team and could really take up more room than any. And you need a third baseman that could defend with all that room. So I would have moved Lindor to third base. That would have made more sense. I would have tried to pitch that to Lindor than Bo Bichette. I just don't agree with it.
It's definitely a weird one. The only other thing that was I thought we had to talk about is, I guess Citi Field, you know, the dimensions, left field is easier to play than right field because they're moving Juan Soto to left field away from right field. Not that they have like a real replacement in right field. It's like Tyrone Taylor or MJ Melendez they got from the Royals. You know, it's just like, I don't really understand that move, but apparently, you know, Juan Soto gets what he wants. He got all the money. He wants to play in left. He feels more comfortable, was the quote. So he's playing in left.
It could be Ronnie Mauricio, too, in right as well, because they also saying he could get shortstop reps as well.
The only season that I thought that Juan Soto played half decent in the outfield was with the Yankees. He did not look good last year. How many times did he make blooping mistakes out in the outfield? There were games that he made multiple mistakes in one game. I don't think it works. You need to be a really good defender in the open field. There's a lot of field to cover at left field, less in right field. It would have made more sense for him to stay in right field. But again, like you said, Fish, what Soto wants, he gets.
All right. So let's move on to some football offseason stuff, starting with the New York Football Giants. Well, we're going to talk about their free agents in a second, but first let's talk about them hiring, you mentioned it earlier, Brian Callahan to be the quarterbacks coach and pass game coordinator, meaning he's the I guess you call him the lieutenant to the offensive coordinator, which is Charles Nagy, which makes Greg Roman, longtime Jim Harbaugh guy way back in the 49ers days, obviously spent some time with John and in Baltimore with Lamar. Didn't work out so great, but he's going to run the run game aspect of it. So they have three guys with a wealth of experience, Errol, which is why some people are excited about this move. Others, like yourself, have pointed out it's a lot of, Chiefs, maybe, too many Chiefs, not enough Indians in this situation.
It doesn't make any sense. I like John Harbaugh, and I'm not saying that John Harbaugh won't be a successful coach with the New York Giants. He got paid a lot of money, and now he's reaching. You bring in Matt Nagy. He wasn't a successful head coach with Chicago. He went back to Kansas City. He was not even calling the plays with Andy Reid. He was really Andy Reid's puppet. And Andy Reid said he should go to an organization where he has a chance to make the play calls. And now he's going to the Giants where you have Brian Callahan and you have Greg Roman as guys that are going to help you make the play calls and help you out with the throwing game and the running game. It doesn't make any sense. If you're going to bring in an offensive coordinator, you bring in one guy making the play calls. And again, this is very Jet-esque. This is what happened with Robert Saleh. Robert Saleh couldn't make a decision on who his offensive coordinator was, so he fired one and then brought in two. It makes no sense.
Yeah, Callahan's not going to get play calling duties. It just also at the same time, how much can you trust a Joe Burrow sample when Joe Burrow was already good as a Cincinnati quarterback coach, and then he goes to Tennessee and can't develop Cam Ward to the same extent. Now he's going to get Brian Daboll, oddly enough, they're swapping, but still, he's not going to be play calling at all. Nagy, I don't like at all calling plays if they're going to trust him to do that.
Do you like these moves, Speedy? You're a Giant fan.
Callahan, I'm indifferent on. Roman is fine, but I don't want him calling plays either. Matt Nagy, I don't trust at all.
If you say Roman is fine, why didn't anybody but the Jets interview him?
Because he's too old school of an offensive coordinator, and I can't trust a 1-month sample of him trying to be pass happy at the beginning of the season with the Chargers.
I don't want Greg Roman calling plays, but I am interested in his ability to, scheme up some run plays. That's what they did with Lamar. They had this like very unique offense because they said, Lamar's not going to be able coming out of college to run a regular offense. So Roman made this kind of non-traditional offense. Eventually teams caught on to it and they had to let him go. It didn't work. After a while, and that's the NFL. You gotta keep adapting. But Roman knows the run game. I'm excited about that potentially with Scatterbo coming back.
There's too many voices that are going to be in that offensive side of a room where I have a feeling there's gonna be backlash. There's gonna be some kind of backlash with all three of these guys. I don't think it's gonna work.
So he was with the Lions with Stafford. He was with Peyton Manning and Tim Tebow in Denver, Callahan. He was with Derek Carr in that good Raiders season they had before he broke his leg, I believe. Yeah. And he was the OC for Zach Taylor with Burrow, like you said, for 4 years before becoming the Titans head coach and being
Carr's sample is the one
disaster.
I'm encouraged the most about because he's not like previous elite somewhere else.
Yeah, so look, we'll see how it goes. The Giants have some free agents and not a lot of money. Nope. Looks like Wan'Dale Robinson is going to cash in on his big, at least target share once Neighbors went down this year. He got over 1,000 yards. Someone's going to pay him.
And don't be surprised if it's the other team at the Meadowlands, the New York Jets, because I could see the Jets. They're looking for another wide receiver to put on the other side of Garrett Wilson. They need another weapon, and a guy like Wendell Robinson, you can move him in the slot. You could do a lot of things with him. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's like the New York Jets making that move and bringing in Wan'Dale Robinson as the other guy.
Yeah. Then you got Jermaine Illuminor and Cordell Flott. Both had good seasons. Cornerback Flott, he was probably the best corner on the Giants, but that's more by default than by he had a great season. He just was competent out there, which was a high bar to match, I think, for anybody else on the roster. Illuminor was pretty good right tackle. He's going to get paid. The Giants don't have money to pay him. They can't give him like a double his salary.
That's why
those are the three guys.
That's why I think the Giants at number 5, as much as everybody thinks they need a wide receiver, I go offensive tackle. Yes.
Yeah, they're going to look at a couple of those guys, and we'll profile a lot of them as we get closer to the draft. The Jets, well, how do you like Kyler Murray, Errol? Because I'm seeing heavily rumored to the Jets Kyler Murray right now. This looks like he may be your bridge quarterback.
He would be a bridge quarterback in a Frank Wright offense. I could see it working. It's only going to be this year and probably half of next year. They're going to draft a quarterback, not this coming draft, but the next coming draft. Kyler Murray is an interesting person. He's selfish, but a guy that has the ability to do a lot of things that you want a quarterback to do. He's great outside of the pocket and making throws. And like I said, Frank Wright is going to need those type of guys that are going to be able to make throws on the run. That's his style of offense. When he was successful in Indianapolis with Carson Wentz, and I thought that Carson Wentz was better when he was outside of the pocket and making throws on the outside of the pocket. Kyler Murray still has the ability to be a good quarterback in this league. It didn't work very well over there in Arizona. Maybe with a new roster and a new team and a bunch of fans screaming his name, and hopefully him not screaming in a third person in front of the media and embarrassing himself, it might work out for a couple of years with the New York Jets.
It's interesting because the
we liked him, Speedy.
The off-field stuff is definitely something that maybe you don't want to bring to a young roster, but I do agree with you on the right aspect. If you could get the efficiency mark that you got with Carson Wentz with the Colts in 2021, and with the Eagles the first half of his rookie season. His second half wasn't great. Then he started to play a lot of hero ball. But if you can get a combination of that, maybe you can have it. I'm not going to say a great offense, but at least enough of a competent passing offense with him. The leadership, obviously, off-field stuff.
He's known for using his legs outside of the pocket. The Jets like running the ball, and I think that would make Breece Hall a little bit more happier if they franchise him and want to bring him back, to have a quarterback that he believes is more competent than any of the quarterbacks the Jets have had over the last couple of years. And remember, Kyler Murray a couple of years ago was not bad when it came to statistics, especially in fantasy. The guy has a tremendous ability of getting out of the pocket and making throws, and he is pretty accurate. His problem is really speaking to the media. I don't know if New York is the place for him to come when he does the most dumbest things when it comes to speaking and saying things that kind of turn you off as a player that he is. So I think he's got a tremendous amount of talent. He's still fairly young. He's 28 years old, 29 years old. He still might have a lot of football left. But coming to New York, I don't know if it makes sense. We'll see.
So one more New York team to talk about. Out in Western New York, where I went to college.
Buffalo.
The Buffalo Bills, they are being rumored to be trying to pry former Joe Brady receiver from LSU, Justin Jefferson, away from the Vikings.
Not going to happen.
Now, Jefferson is saying he's not asking for a trade or anything like that, and the Vikings obviously are not publicly stating it. But if the Bills offer enough, because they certainly need a number one receiver, they may have to think about it. Especially with J.J. McCarthy as quarterback.
They have nothing. Are they willing to give up 2 or maybe even 3 first-round draft picks to get a Justin Jefferson?
It's not going to take 3 first-round draft picks on his salary.
Justin Jefferson right now, last year he had a bad season because he had nobody throwing the ball. This guy is the best wide receiver in the NFL. Hands down, if he has the right guy throwing the ball, he's going to put up 1,500 yards. There is no way they don't get, okay, let's say 2 first-round draft picks and maybe a second and a third. They're going to have to give up a significant amount for Justin Jefferson.
I think this is a combination of 2 things. One of which is Brandon Beane. He knows that McDermott got fired. He was kind of lucky to keep his job for whatever reason. He knows he has to make a big swing, and then Minnesota's got a new GM. Maybe you pick on him. Maybe you think, all right, maybe.
What would it take to get?
I think it would be 2 first-round picks, but I think Brandon Beane is going to try to manipulate a new GM in order to get him for less. Now, the tough situation with Buffalo is they still have to do a lot to make the cap space work with Justin Jefferson. There's the scenario I brought up to you, Fish, was they have to restructure 3 contracts and get rid of 4 players. And even so, that's only $25 million in cap space. Jefferson's making $37 a year. So can they rearrange it enough to make it work will be another question, or include a player in the deal that Minnesota could want.
I would imagine they tell Jefferson, we're going to restructure. We'll give you all signing bonus, and the cap number comes down for year 1, and that's what they would do. Rousseau can be restructured. He's probably their best D lineman since Oliver keeps getting hurt. He's a really good player from.
It's not going to happen. I don't see Minnesota doing that.
All right, let's wrap up the carousel, Errol. Just quickly talk about some college hoops. We're not going to get into too much. Let's just kind of stay on local. There was a big game last week between UConn and St. John's. St. John's upset UConn. UConn had won something like 18 or 19 in a row. UConn's still in the top 5, but St. John's, they had, Luis Jr., the famous flame out last year in the tournament. They weren't really expected as much this year to be at the top, and now they may end up back there, maybe make more impact, more as a middle seed than a top seed.
Everybody knows I like Pitino and I like Danny Hurley. I think they're both competent, great coaches in the country. I would love to see these guys play against one another in the tournament in March Madness. That's something that you would love to see, being that both guys are, Big East guys and guys that really stand for something. And Pitino, who was a New York guy, and so is Danny Hurley is a New Jersey guy. This is something that you like to see. I look at both teams right now. UConn is one of the best teams in the country, even though losing against St. John's. St. John's is one of the oldest teams in the country. And we expected that. We expected Pitino to bring in older guys that can run his offense and run his defense. I think this is going to be good. I think both teams are going to be high-profile teams going into March Madness. And I think Danny Hurley could get this team in the Final Four. And I wouldn't be surprised if St. John's somehow gets in the Elite 8, maybe in the Final Four as well.
It's enticing with the St. John's team because they're much more efficient offensively, more deep offensively than they were last year. Or still with, I wouldn't say as good of defense they had last year, but still good enough to definitely make a good run. UConn is interesting because their offensive efficiency for a top 5 team is not as high as you want to see usually, but I think this is the perfect time to try to get it into shape. I always say, you can't really streak into a tournament and expect it to last either. They need to lose at some point. I brought up to you, Fish, in the reading that they hadn't lost since November when they played Arizona, who just got their first loss of the season at Kansas. That was a good stretch they're on, but I think it's a good loss for them to refocus. Danny Hurley is a fundamental
The loss
coach.
means nothing. The regular season means nothing. Both teams are going to the tournament, and both teams are quite capable of winning the whole thing. So it's great. It's great for Big East basketball. You want to see UConn at the top level, and you want to see St. John's at the top level, and two of the best coaches in the country. You love it. You love the competition, and I'm looking forward to March Madness.
Rick Pitino, the next game they had, he beat his son, Richard Pitino and Xavier, to get sole possession of third all-time in college basketball Division I wins, passing Roy Williams from UNC in Kansas.
Roy friggin' Williams. I couldn't stand him in North Carolina, by the way. Anyways, here we go. My deuce of the day.
The deuce of the day.
You log. Not a log. I don't have a log, but I mean, you know.
Danny Ainge, ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot of questions on Danny Ainge's madness. He's got a tremendous amount of madness. But guess what? He makes a trade recently over a week ago, and he adds a guy like Jaren Jackson Jr. And now all of a sudden, Jaren Jackson Jr. is out for the season with a knee injury. And everybody's questioning why. What was the man? Why did he make this move? And I believe he made this move because he knew that Jaren Jackson was going to be out for the season. They were going to choke for the rest of the year to try to get a high draft pick, a top 10 pick, where they can possibly get one of these lottery picks. Maybe they get lucky. They get into the top 3 and get even Cam Boozer, a BYU kid, or even Kansas, or whatever. I think this was a reason why he's rebuilding. Danny Ainge is one of the smartest, not dumbest, GMs and executives in all of basketball. He has screwed everybody over the years when he was running the Celtics, and he won championships over there. And now he's screwing again as an executive with the Utah Jazz. Don't be surprised in the next 3 or 4 years, Danny Ainge and the Utah Jazz are a competitive championship team, because Danny Ainge knows how to spin the wheel and steal from everybody else. So that is my deuce of the day. I can't stand Danny Ainge. I hated Danny Ainge as a player because he was a Celtic, and I hate him. I hate him as an executive wherever he goes. Thank God he's not running my organization. We love you, Leon. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we will be talking to former New York Giants Super Bowl champion linebacker Gary Reasons. But first, our Sports Minute with the Fish.
3, 2, 1. This is the Jabba and the Mouth Sports Minute.
All right, guys, what's up? Aaron Fishman here with your Sports Minute. Got a couple of stories for you before we get to the scores this evening. In news into ESPN, and friend of the show, Jordan Raanan, former New York Giants head coach Ray Handley passed away last week. He was 81 years old. Handley was a 2-time Super Bowl champion with the Giants and coached the offensive backfield from 1984 until being promoted to head coach in 1991 when Bill Parcells retired for the first time with a bad heart. Handley struggled as head coach of the program, going 14-18 in his 2 years in charge before being fired and replaced by Dan Reeves, who Handley and the Giants beat in Super Bowl 21. Handley was given to the keys to the franchise over Bill Belichick and Tom Coughlin, who were both on the staff by then general manager George Young, who thought Handley was more of Parcells' right-hand man and apparently the smartest of the coaches in terms of IQ. Yes, smarter than Belichick and Coughlin. After being fired at only 48 years old, Handley never coached again in the NFL, despite there being opportunities. RIP to the 2-time champ. In a really awful story over the weekend, Falcons rookie pass rusher James Pierce Jr. was arrested in Miami-Dade County after a short police chase after using his car as a deadly weapon, like he was in a Fast and Furious movie, chasing after WNBA player Rickea Jackson. Jackson, through her attorneys, said she would testify against Pierce, who led all rookies in 2025 with 10.5 sacks. Pierce injured an officer and damaged Jackson's car before crashing his car into an intersection and then fleeing, trying to escape on foot. Pierce was arrested Saturday and charged with 5 felonies and 1 misdemeanor, 2 felony counts of aggravated battery with a deadly weapon, which is the car, a felony count of aggravated stalking, and felony counts of fleeing and eluding police officers, and aggravated battery of a law enforcement officer. Misdemeanor count is resisting an officer's arrest without violence. Pierce, who was drafted by departed general manager Terry Fontenot, came into the league with character concerns that led to his drop to the late first round. Fontenot felt that the reward was greater than the risk. which looks like another thing he got wrong in a big way before his departure. There's only one game in action right now in sports. It's basketball, and the Bucks have a 67-55 lead on the Thunder at halftime. Still to come tonight, Jazz and Trailblazers and Lakers Mavericks close out the NBA action before the All-Star break. Guys, we are streaming live on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube on our Jabba in the Mouth handle, on Facebook under the Worldwide Sports Radio Network handle, and on Twitter under our host handle at ErrolMarks34. Keep downloading on Apple Podcasts and watch us both there and on Spotify, now in video. Make sure you like and subscribe all our shorts, reels, TikToks, and longer videos you see from us throughout the week. Now back to Errol and Speedy for our guest on Jabba and the Mouth.
Any questions?
What is this? We're back. This is the Jabba and the Mouth Show.
Say some stuff.
Gotta have the booty.
631-672-3108 is the number to call. You're listening to Jabba and the Mouth. Well, it's just the Mouth tonight. No Jabba, but we got the speedster, Speedy Beanie. Remember, you can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including Jabba and the Mouth every single Mondays and Thursdays at 6:45 p.m. All you have to do to tune in and check out our local listings for all our shows is go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. And our show is brought to you by Omaha Steaks. Ladies and gentlemen, they're giving you an extra 10% off if you're a Jabba in the Mouth fan. Ladies and gentlemen, all you have to do is go to www.omahasteaks.com/Jabba in the Mouth or go to our website at worldwidesportsradio.com and click our Omaha Steaks logo. Ladies and gentlemen, if you like your beef thick, if you like your beef juicy, long, like Speedy does, ladies and gentlemen, get your beef at Omaha Steaks. 10% off. If I'm going to choke, I'm going to choke on an Omaha Steaks beef. Oh, what a day. Ladies and gentlemen, for the first time on Jabba in the Mouth, I'm very happy to have him on the show. We are now talking to former New York Giants Super Bowl champion linebacker Gary Reasons. Gary, what's up, buddy?
Man, oh man, I tell you, is there enough air in that room? Are you breathing okay? You had a lot to say. I love it. But
sometimes I get caught with phlegm down my throat.
Yeah, don't want to do that. Hey,
no,
all the production value, man. This is great. This you guys put it together.
Well, I will say this. We have a great bunch of guys on the back end. Fish, who you just saw doing our Sports Minute. He's our executive producer. He works out with all the graphics. He puts everything together. Yeah. We got the Speeder over here who does all the video, the editing, all the sound stuff. So we got a bunch of good guys doing the back end. And we have our board up guy, Tommy Poops, working on the sound, making sure that the sound is clear and persistent. So speaking of persistent, the NFL committee is not persistent, and I don't know what the hell they're doing, because Bill Belichick is a first ballot Hall of Famer. You were coached by him. You know a little bit about him. Actually, you know a lot about him. Why do you think the committee has decided to not put him in the Hall of Fame for the first time where he's become available as a first ballot Hall of Famer?
Well, I think they basically dropped the ball here. There's no doubt about that, because Bill definitely deserved for what he did for the game in the National Football League, and his legacy of what he's put together as a head coach in the league, and obviously with us as a defensive coordinator has been, there's no one that can match what Bill Belichick has done in the National Football League as a coach, and he deservedly should get in immediately as it's available to him. But I think there's some powers that be that wanted to kind of slap him on the wrist a little bit for whatever reason. I'm not going to go into all those issues, but I think that there was a little bit of a conspiracy, I would call it, to keep him out of there, just to say that he probably isn't bigger or as big or bigger than the league or bigger than the game. But he did his part. I think that he had a tremendous career in the National Football League. It may not even be over, depending upon what happens with him in North Carolina, who knows. But Bill definitely deserved to be in, and I think it's just a little bit of game playing here, gamesmanship, and just trying to send some subtle messages, whatever they may be, to Bill and any others. I just don't like that kind of politics.
So I wanted to know, you being obviously a player that played with him, like how has he transitioned like his style and his personality on and off the field for when you played? It's obviously when you became a coach with the Patriots later on after you retired until to now, because I know you do some college football broadcasting as well. Like, what do you think the transition of his like just football career has been like?
Bill has always been true to himself, and really what he is, he's cut and dry, straight to the point. When he was coaching us, he presented us the information, gave us the coaching points that he had gleaned from hours and hours and hours of film study. And that's still him today. I mean, that's what made him the most successful coach of all time. And that's his preparation. No one was going to outwork Bill. No one was going to put a game plan together that was superlative to his. And I think that and when he had a bunch of guys that could play and play well, and he did it in a couple of spots now, he certainly shined. And I don't think that there's any doubt that Bill Belichick is a tremendous coach. But what you see is what you get. He hasn't changed. He hasn't changed from the day when he was with us and in East Rutherford for those many ball games and championships to what he's doing today in North Carolina.
Gary, we had one of your old buddies on the show last week, Howard Cross, and we kind of went through some of the things that the Giants have done in the past. And Tom Coughlin was one guy that I thought they mistreated at the end of his career with the New York Giants. This is a guy that won 2 Super Bowl championships. You know him because he was a part of that staff, the Bill Parcells and Bill Belichick staff. What do you know about Tom Coughlin that other people don't know about him?
Well, he's an open book. I mean, there's not much about Tom Coughlin that you need to know otherwise. He had a great collegiate career, came to the Giants, was tremendous as an assistant coach on Bill's staff, and he worked as though everything was perfect, and he demanded that of his group, the running backs obviously that he worked with. And I think that with us, when he was in that mode, he really just shined in what he did. Parcells gave his coaches their lanes to swim in, so to speak. Okay, most of them didn't jump across the lanes to try to outguess the other coaches or really outguess Parcells at that point. So it was all kind of a Bill on top, and everybody else is kind of looking up to him as far as the coaches go. But Tom Coughlin was one of those who followed about being a coach on our staff, and he was just a tremendous resource because he had success at the collegiate level, and he brought that to the Giants. And then when he reemerged with the Giants, you saw what he brought.
We are talking to former New York Giants Super Bowl champion, 2-time Super Bowl champion linebacker Gary Reasons. Lawrence Taylor is one of the greatest, if not the greatest, defensive lineman of all time. What type of player was it? What kind of leader was he in the locker room? And everybody said he was like a lightning bolt, not only in the locker room, but on the football field. What do you know about him that other fans don't know about him, that he has done behind the scenes for his teammates that other people don't understand?
Lawrence, I think, was a tremendous teammate. There's no doubt about that. He played his heart out for everybody. If you gave your all, and he noticed that you were giving your all, you had no issues with Lawrence. But if you were not contributing and you were not putting yourself out there in subtle ways, he would let you know that. And I saw a few of those things go on. There were a lot of younger guys that came through with drafts and different things, and that he didn't see fits here. I think he had a couple of conversations with Parcells along the way about questioning about some of these personnel that had showed up in our locker room, and he was pretty blunt about it sometimes. But when we had a team together for every year, for every season, he was as good a teammate as ever. And he would work his tail off, and I think he is the greatest defensive player to ever play the game. That's my take on it, because I got to see him on a day-to-day basis, and I saw the superlative athleticism that he possessed, that it's just incomprehensible how he could do the things he did on the field. So you look at what he did as an edge rusher back in the day in the 80s and early 90s, and he was tremendous, and he set the standard way up here for guys to reach to. Well, they're still trying to emulate that today. there's a couple of guys that are trying to get close to him in speed and not going to get close to him in size, capability, and his speed. But I think that Lawrence really had a lot of just God-given traits that he could play and at a high level, and that motor never turned off. So he was relentless, and that was a key to our defense back in the day, being relentless defensive, guys on the field. And much like the Super Bowl this weekend, the Seahawks, they ran their defense, and they were much like that with their Super Bowl championship.
So shifting one of your other teammates too, and Carl Banks, that has been kind of controversial since he's become a New York Giants analyst.
I love him, by
taking
the way.
shots at some of the Giants fans over there with Eli Manning, Odell Beckham we've seen in the past. And then this year, most recently with Dexter Lawrence, calling him out for the lack of effort and stuff like that too. First, obviously playing with him, like, was he that same kind of way as a player? And what did you think thoughts of him now as an analyst?
I think that Carl, he and I came into the league in the same year in '84 in the draft. And so, we had good friendship, and for us to be kind of in sync as players, we started, in 1984, the first game that Parcells would allow us to start was against Atlanta. It was week number 6. The games were started early on, and then, he put Carl and us in, and we stayed into the game, but he didn't start us until week 6 because he liked veteran players. But Carl, he displayed, they tried to test him in training camp. They did a lot of things for the first round pick, the number 3 overall pick, which was a really super high pick for the Giants back in the day. And he got paid quite a bit of money, and they wanted to see if he was worth that money for some of the things that they put him through physically, mentally in training camp. Parcells was all about that, trying to create toughness on our team and trying to agitate Carl a little bit. But I tell you what, Carl persisted, and he came through with shining colors because he showed his physical toughness, his grit, and he's that same way today. He hasn't changed either. When he sees something that isn't right, he's going to let you know it. When he sees something that he thinks can be a fit, he'll let you know that. And he's going to do that with consistency and persistency. And I think Carl has worked himself into being a quality analyst, and really he's got his heart that he bleeds blue with, but he's got to have his mouth out there talking. And he has to kind of be sometimes in the middle of the road. He can't be all Giants blue all the time, but he's got to be, as an analyst, you've got to be down that road. When I go to I do broadcasting, I'm very much down the middle because, these college teams, I'm not a part of any of them. I can walk that line and talk about either one of these teams. Carl, he knows a lot more about the Giants than he does about the opponents because of his proximity. And when he goes to do a game, he's trying to be pretty much even Steven with that, but he can't be. It's just not there. That's the broadcast ship of the New York Giants, that radio broadcast with that he's on, and it's something that is just hard to do. But he's navigating it, and I think that he brings a lot to the game. I think he brings a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience, and he's got a lot of great thoughts.
Jeff Hostetler. I remember when Phil Simms went down. I was young, and a lot of Giant fans were worried. The great Phil Simms goes down. We're not winning a Super Bowl. We're not going to make a playoff run. And what a playoff run Jeff Hostetler had. What type of player was Jeff Hostetler?
Well, another 1984 draft member with Carl and I, and William Roberts, and amongst our class. But Jeff really, he had no meaningful snaps before that point in the season when Phil got injured. So he had to go into the game. But every one of us on the team that was there from the time that Jeff stepped on the team in the backup role, we could see his athleticism. We could see his game savvy. We could see how well he competed. And he always approached every week with a great attitude. And he continued to do that. So, as we all know, the news stories were the seemingly indestructible Phil Simms. But at one point when he goes down, our season lies in the hands of a player who really hadn't had that many meaningful snaps in his career, let alone the season. So that was a question that had to be answered. And Jeff came through in flying colors, as we all know. And I'm very glad that we had that quality depth and that quality type of a player. And he obviously went on to have a tremendous NFL career.
So shifting another one of your teammates, a guy you played against in practice a lot too, one of the greatest tight ends of that era, and Mark Bavaro. First, like, you think he changed the tight end position for a lot of what it was in the 70s, where it's kind of that rogue grading type guys, and like transitioning to what it is now? And what was it like going up against him in practice?
Yeah, Mark was a tremendous athlete and kind of a guy, no nonsense, just, I'm going to put my head down. I'm going to be a tough guy, and this is what you're going to get. And he's like that. And it's just amazing how this fake punt opens up right there. And I just get to run down the field. I love seeing this. Anyway, but with Mark was a guy who really, really quiet. He kind of kept to himself, really wasn't outgoing, but boy, when he was on the field, he had a demeanor about him that was unmistakable. You asked if I think he changed the game. I think he did have a huge impact on the game. Not only was he a premium blocker at the line of scrimmage, but he had the ability to get open, make moves to get out in space. Was very adept at catching the football, and obviously made big plays. And when he had his head down, we all know who he could carry, and a lot of players jump on his back and just take him for a ride. That was Mark Bavaro.
We are talking to former New York Giants, two-time Super Bowl champion linebacker Gary Reasons. We spoke about Tom Coughlin. We spoke about Bill Belichick. We have to speak about Bill Parcells. I think one of the greatest defensive minds the NFL has ever seen. I think people forget what Bill Parcells has brought to the game. Look at the guys that he has drafted in the past. Look at the defensive linemen that have become Hall of Famers. What type of head coach was he when you were with the New York Giants?
I think he was the exact fit that we needed as a head coach. First of all, obviously, Bill, we all know this. He's from the Northeast, New Jersey guy, and another no-nonsense guy. But the way he commanded the locker room was really magical. And the way he did that, he had the best way of being a coach, and he was different of how he coached with different players. And let me get into this a little bit. He knew things about each of us that he knew. And anytime he was in conversation with you, he would pick on those little things and bring them up, whether it was a thorn in your side or whether he's trying to uplift you. He knew things about you that could push your buttons. And he knew how to push those buttons. That was his superpower for him with our team in that era. And he came across as a guy who obviously had tremendous knowledge of the game, a tough guy from New Jersey. There's no doubt about that. And he brought that toughness, that blue collar mentality to us every single day. He coached his coaches as hard as he coached us. Now, when you think about that, that doesn't go on being talked about quite a bit. But when they're upstairs after we're all gone, and he's going off on those guys, it was no different than him going off on us on the field, because I knew that he did that with his coaches, and he would also lay him out there on the field with us. But he had a way of making people perform. And the question that you didn't want to have him ask you was, Gary, do you want the aisle or the window? You know what that one means. So
of course.
Yeah, we just don't want him to ask that question. So, but I think Bill Parcells was one of a kind, and definitely a tremendous head coach in the National Football League, a legendary figure in the Northeast of New Jersey, New York, and certainly someone that had put the team and the community on his back. And then he pulled with him a bunch of guys that he pulled together, myself included, in the draft in 1984, and which kind of propelled us into winning seasons and that from that year forward. And it just kind of worked out really, really well. Unfortunately, we had the our work stoppage that kind of derailed things after the our first Super Bowl championships, but we'll talk about that another time.
So yeah, let's shift to the current Giants. It seems like the linebacker position is the one that's gotten a lot of the drama on the defensive side of the ball in the last few years. Brian Burns was the one that was calling out the Giants for the lack of effort at the end of the end of the 2024 season, and then Kayvon Thibodeau, he's had all his antics. He played better this year, but now a big decision: do they trade him? Do they keep him this year? And then Abdul Carter was probably the most notable of all. Late to meetings, might have been watching some inappropriate things in his rookie season. Played well after that, but still some issues there. What are your thoughts to all those linebackers and their maybe some character questions?
Well, you take Burns, and when I first saw Burns playing with the Giants, I thought he lacked motivation his first year. I didn't see that from him. I didn't see the all-out gameplay that he was supposed to have. He then turned the notch up a couple of turns this year, and he certainly is now one of the cornerstones of that defense, and he is definitely a premium player on the defensive end as an edge rusher, outside rusher. And I think that he brought a lot of intensity to the Giants. Abdul, we're all expecting to be Superman, but let's just face it, he has to mature. He has to grow up. He's got to go through the paces. You can't expect everybody to be the guy you want him to be, put him in a box and be perfect. Character issues, whether or not they're that or what have you, forget about that. Throw that crap out the window. Just get by it and move forward and grow. And I think that Abdul Carter, at the end of the season, he did grow. Okay, he obviously had some big plays along the way towards the end of the year, and I think that he sees in himself what he can become in the National Football League. So I don't think that there's any questions about his ability or about his play. It's just him possibly having a little maturity growth here. Potentially, it's going to have to be quick if he's going to be a factor in that Giants defense.
We are talking to former New York Giants two-time Super Bowl champion linebacker Gary Reasons. John Harbaugh is the new head coach for the New York Giants. The Giants have gone from coach to coach to coach since Tom Coughlin and struck out on every single one of them. You look at John Harbaugh, he's been successful. He won one Super Bowl, but a lot of people say that wasn't his team. Those weren't his players. His development of players, Lamar Jackson was a guy that didn't want him to come back. He told the organization he would rather move forward with a new head coach. Do you think that John Harbaugh moving on to a new team, a new organization, getting paid as much as he has, is the right move for the New York Giants? Do you think he was the right guy to hire over Mike McCarthy or maybe a Tomlin or one of these bigger, more known coaches, or even the younger coaches like Minter? Do you think he was the right guy for the job?
I absolutely 100% think that he is the best fit from all of that group for the Giants right now. He brings something to the table that the previous coaches did not. And it's instant credibility. His ability to step in front of the team from day one and command a presence of them knowing that he's a disciplinarian. He's a guy that is straightforward, and the path is only one way, and that is team, and that's winning. And with his credentials and his championship caliber background, I think that he is an outstanding choice for the Giants, and so glad that he was available for the Giants in this cycle, because it wasn't written that he was going to be on the market. But it happened, and I think that it is a really, really good fit. He reminds me of Tom Coughlin coming into the Giants organization as a head coach. I think that it's going to be something somewhat similar, because Tom had a great command of personnel. He had a great command of the facilities and everything around it. I see John Harbaugh stepping in there and not missing a beat. I think that he's going to work very well with the front office. I think that there's the previous head coach, he needed to leave. That's my opinion, and we're in the right position now with John Harbaugh there, and I think he can get the Giants back to prominence. I really do.
So what about some of the assistant coaching hires? Like Greg Roman, they bring in, obviously his familiarity with John Harbaugh. Brian Callahan, they just brought in as the quarterback coach. He did well with Cincinnati, but again, that's Joe Burrow. Was he really the reason? And then just struggled this year with the Titans as a head coach. And then Matt Nagy, I think the one that I kind of question the most because, yeah, he did well with the Chiefs, but he wasn't really the main play caller with the Chiefs with Andy Reid. So what are your thoughts on all those?
I don't care who they are. I really don't. It's the head coach's job to coach the coaches, and the coaches coach the players. And it kind of goes that way. If he had a chance, and I'm sure that John will do this and probably can do it very easily, have a conversation with Bill Parcells. Basically talk about structure and talk about how you run this football team in this kind of environment. You know, he was a little bit isolated, you know, John, you know, in his former team. But because it's not the bubble that New York is. It certainly was not. That's going to be the only challenge. Can he navigate the media waters, and so to speak, as a head coach in New York? I don't think there's going to be an issue. I think that he's going to do it just fine. But I think that he's probably going to possibly throw out the phone calls to both Tomlin and Parcells, not Tomlin, but Coach Coughlin and Parcells, rather than to have about how do I run this job and how do we do this the right way with what I've got. And he's going to get that. He's going to get that, their impressions, and he's going to blend that into what's going to be successful for him in New York.
Gary, you look at Jackson Dart, and obviously his first season, he looked pretty good. He has some ups and downs. A lot of people question him moving outside of the pocket a little too much, not standing in the pocket and making the throws. Do you think a guy like John Harbaugh will be able to develop him into the quarterback that a lot of Giant fans believe he could be?
Well, you develop a quarterback best by developing the players around the quarterback. Agreed?
Yes.
And the reason being is that, you know, a quarterback is one guy, okay? If that right guard and the right tackle are horseshit, then you're going to have to find some way to fix that problem before you're going to fix anything. So he's going to be getting hit in the mouth, okay? There is a clock. There's a little clock in the quarterback's head when they know that ball needs to be out of their hand or they need to take off and run. In Jackson Dart's case, he has the ability to take off and run when things break down. We don't need to have him do that as much. And I think that in year two, you're going to see a little bit more patience with Jackson simply because of the game is going to slow down for him a little bit. He's going to know what is coming, what's understanding his understanding of the game. I just hope that, you know, with coaching changes and changes in the system, that he doesn't have to catch up a lot. And, you know, they're trying to refigure things out. But I think it was tremendous what he did early on. And I just thought he took a little bit too much on his shoulder as far as trying to make plays, you know, and he got him dinged a couple of times. So that does happen.
Joe Shane, a guy that I'm not a big fan of. I got a chance to watch him on Hard Knocks. He pretty much threw Saquon Barkley to the dogs and eventually became an Eagle, something that John Mara did not want to happen. And now he hires John Harbaugh, and if Joe Shane does not succeed this season, a lot of people think he's on the hot seat, and maybe John Harbaugh gets to pick his GM to work with. Do you believe that Joe Shane is the right guy for the job? Do you think he's made more mistakes than right acquisitions that has helped this organization move forward?
I think that he's put players in there for the coaches to utilize that were adequate. And unfortunately, a couple injuries happened. You know, obviously Malik going down early was not something that was easily overcome this season. But Sheen, there's, you know, I'm 50-50 on him. I think that he understands well enough how to put the pieces together. The thing that a general manager and someone who is responsible for bringing players into the organization, they have to have an alignment with the coaching staff. They've got to have an alignment with the vision of what type of player, what is the skill set, what is the adaptability to the particular system and style that you're going to play. And if that aligns with Harbaugh and his schemes, there won't be any problems. There won't be any issues. I haven't heard of any issues or any things where the thought process is differing from either one of them. I think if they're on the same track together, and that's how they should be, it'll all be fine. But if something goes wrong and you get a player in or out that is not necessarily in the way of their combined thinking, it's tough sledding. It really is. You're walking in murky waters. Both of them are in reality, because the team is only as good as what is the players play it on the field. Okay, and the players have to play the game through the tutelage of their coaching staff, not from the general manager, but from the coaching staff. So they have to translate that into workable instruction and being able to be a physical force to be able to play. That is what that has to happen. There's things that you have to bring other guys along that are just pieces of this, whether it be an offensive lineman, defensive lineman, secondary. You've got to bring other pieces together, and they've got to be cohesive. This cohesive structure really, I think it started to happen early in the season, and then it was kind of wobbling in the middle. And I think towards the end, they kind of got a semblance of the cohesiveness back, ended on a pretty decent note. So that is where I think that this team really needs to shine. They need to be cohesive and come together. If they do that early in the season in 2026, it could be special. Obviously we know it's the 40th anniversary of our Super Bowl 21 season coming up, so I'm hoping these guys, bring a little fanfare to it.
I want to shift gears a little bit because I know you do a lot of college football broadcasts. Obviously, a lot of landscape to change in college football with the NIL, the transfer portal, and this new college football playoff format. There's a lot of old school coaches like Dabo Swinney and Nick Saban taking shots at that. In your time broadcasting college football, do you think these changes are good from what you've seen in the past?
Absolutely not. I'm an old school guy. Navigating NIL out there is a nightmare. Navigating the transfer portal is a nightmare. It is really, really difficult. I went to a school in Louisiana, Northwestern State, and we're a Division I college football program, but we call it the CFCS program. It's an FCS school. They play at the FCS level. The one thing that is extremely crazy right now is money's flying around right and left with a lot of players, and all the players are just chasing money. It's really what NIL is, and really what transfer portal is all about. Is these guys are chasing? There's no legacy. There's no loyalty to the team. It's just a lot of stuff. So these coaches have they preach to them all the time about wanting to be there and be cohesive and all this, but let's face it, when you have 20, 30, 40% of your team entering that transfer portal at the end of the season, everybody is trying to find the way to do it, and it all comes down to money, and unfortunately the smaller schools just don't have those resources. But so I completely dislike it. I completely am. I'm on the old school guy, and I'll stay that way. I just don't like what it is. But I think what is holding it all back, and it's really truly it's the fair marketplace. We live in a society in the U.S. that I can't tell you how much money you can or should make, or what income, or where you can go to work. It's not my job to do that. If I was doing that, I'd be controlling you. Oh, that sounds like what they do to college football players. They control them. Not anymore. So with the NFL and the NBA and MLB, we all have unions because we join a union so that we can collectively bargain for our rights. But there's not a structure right now that college athletes are bonding together to have collectively bargained rights. So it's really crazy out there. I don't like it, but it's something that a lot of people. It's just talk, but there's a lot of money flying around.
Hey Gary, it's Aaron Fishman. I'm the producer. I just had to ask you. I'm a huge Giants fan. I had to ask you a question. I also coach high school football up by West Point. All right. And I obviously I grew up on the hit, your play against the Broncos, clinching the playoffs, 89. And I'll play it again. I played it a little bit earlier. But if I taught somebody to do this, Gary, I would probably get fired from my job as a high school coach, because today, if you lead with your head, despite the fact it was one of the greatest plays in football history, in my opinion, they probably flag you for it in the NFL today. And I know in youth, it's something that they really frown upon. So I just kind of wanted your take on, how the game's changed. You said you're an old school guy, obviously, with the NIL, but I can imagine your opinions on tackling, the going from the biting the ball to, the rugby style tackling when Pete Carroll kind of, did it with the Legion of Boom. That's kind of been a big thing in high school circles. And I just want to know what your take was on that.
Well, first of all, back in the day, that was a very physical play and a tough play. And, and you dive over the top and hopefully you hit something, you dive, you take off, and hopefully you hit your target. And I did. But believe it or not, even in today's rules, it's between the tackle box. So that's a run play. It's a running area. Have you ever seen a helmet to helmet called in the tackle zone? No, there's not. So it's a legal tackle. People are confused about that. It's just they just see it coming over the top and it's pronounced, but it's not when you're in between the tackles. Regardless of that, I am in 100% agreement and favor of some of the changes to the game as far as safety. Okay, I definitely think that some of the protections that the receivers get as far as getting blown up and things out there, and I think those are definitely the way to teach the game better. Teaching a style of tackling at a youth level and bringing that up through into their high school and college days, if they get that far, if you know how to tackle from the earliest days, and you want to be on the head and shoulder area here on both sides, leave that pretty smile out of that whole equation. That it'll be that way. It takes practice. The reps that you do in practice only can translate into the game. And when you're in a situation to where you're going to make a tackle or a play, hopefully you're going to be coached enough and you've practiced enough to where you do it automatically. You just make a good sound tackle. So the youth coaches of today are as important as the rules and the officials and all the different things that go into it, because they're the ones teaching the better techniques. And I applaud these guys for doing that, because they do it in a good way, obviously keeping safety in mind, keeping players on the field, and keeping everybody healthy. And it is one of those things that the thing has got. I think it's gotten better over the course of time. Now, I'm a former NFL LPA executive committee member, and my legacy is kind of down that line of, I was on the executive committee when the Player Association, we got free agency for the players in '93. So that is great. That monumental change of free agency. And then there's other things that have happened with rules and safety. Those are changes to the game that have propelled the NFL to be what it is today. I mean, there's just been tremendous uptick in that. However, now here's the other side. The defensive guys in the National Football League are at a complete disadvantage when you're outside of the box. Okay, you can't touch anybody. You can't run with them after 5 yards. You can't bump into them. Otherwise, you're going to throw a little yellow flag. But on Sunday in the Super Bowl, you can run and bump and jump, and you almost can really take them apart. But there weren't going to be any flags thrown on Sunday because they were letting the players play. That's kind of back in the day, like we had it, where we can kind of play like that. But it was fair because both teams were doing so on Sunday. So I'm liking some of the non-contact as far as keeping guys safe. The rules have been changed and obviously are more in favor for the offense in the NFL today. And it's just the way it is. And I see the fandom of looking to see explosive plays, big passing plays, and touchdowns. That's all good. It's all good. But when you see a physical, tough football game like we saw on Sunday, it kind of takes you back to the era of the 1980s New York Giants. That looked like a normal Sunday for us.
Gary, you look at the league, you see all the different rule changes, and obviously with the CTE problem they've had over the years, we've had a lot of players come on this show and said to us and told us that the NFL has not taken care of the former players that have helped this game grow. with obviously insurance policies. These guys have had knee problems, back problems, head trauma. They're not getting taken care of. Do you think that the NFL needs to step in and help the former players that helped this game grow as big as it's been over the last couple of years?
Well, when we all signed up to play on the line on the field, we knew what we were signing up for. As far as potential injuries and so forth. I was one of those players that went through an entire 9-year NFL career and never had a major injury. I never had an issue. And I was kind of built right and being able to stay on the field and never missed any time. So I had a little different perspective of the injury situation, but I do see guys, and even now, I'm definitely of the opinion that through collective bargaining and what the NFLPA has been able to achieve, they have made significant strides, though, for players and benefits post-playing and that are going on to. My birthday's this month. I'm going to turn 64. My goodness!
Congratulations.
Well, next year this time, when I turn 65, my benefits from the NFL stop as far as health benefits. There is what's called an NFL dedicated hospital network, and we have a stipend for every player that played on a recurring annual basis for primary care. And I just had I had an accident in Louisiana in May. I was driving my truck, and anyways, it was at night, and I was going 70 miles an hour, and I hit an alligator on the highway. And so when I was hitting the brake, my left knee popped the dash. Anyway, so the next morning I woke up and started walking, and I stumbled. And when I wound up, they couldn't take me down to the NFL, but that damn alligator got me on the highway. And so I had a surgery just in November here, just to clean out a scope for my left knee. But I'm telling you this for one reason, is that through the NFL dedicated hospital network for former players, we each have a stipend. It's $25,000 per year for primary care, but they'll also handle some surgical situations and things. So to that, I applaud the NFLPA and the NFL for providing that to us. But as I turn 65, those go away simply because the NFL and PA figured out that, these guys get Medicare. That's probably where we'll go. So I'm one of those guys that the more we can do through the collective bargaining aspect of it for the betterment of players long term and into the future, hopefully they have that. When I was with the leadership group of Gene Upshaw, when he was the executive director of the NFLPA, and I admired Gene and his just toughness and grit and how he brought us along. And he had a good old saying, is that always remember the past, do well in the present, and look to the future. All three eras of players are what he's talking about. And we don't ever want to lose sight of who got us to where we are today. And I'm one of those guys looking now to the current players. Hey, keep us in your crosshairs when you start talking to the NFLPA. How can you improve our benefits, which will in turn be your benefits when the time comes down the road? But over time, the last couple of collective bargaining agreements, there have been significant improvements for former players. So I'm a little bit on the other side of the fence on that conversation. Yeah. I do think that there are available benefits for guys if they can get to them and they know how to do that. Most everyone should, because it's simple. NFLplayerbenefits.com. Go in there, log in, figure it out.
I wonder if I could do that. I've never been an NFL player. Maybe I could.
You can give it a try. If you put in my username and password, you want it? No.
All 1 year worth from Gary Reasons. Here, you can have my $25,000. Take care of yourself. Gary, I've got two questions for you. One, why isn't Eli Manning a Hall of Famer? And number two, the NFL is trying to bring in another game, 18-game season. What is the NFL trying to do here? Do you think this is right for the players? Is this protecting the players? You said just a few moments ago, the NFL is making great strides on protecting the player. Now, all of a sudden, ladies and gentlemen, you're hearing that the NFL wants to bring an 18-game season. Why do you think the NFL is proposing this to the players?
One reason: money. It all comes down to money and grabbing audience and grabbing viewership, and it's all about money. And it always has been. So way back when, it used to be a 12-game season. Way back when, it used to be a 14-game season. Way back when, 16-game season. This year, 17. You know, when I was on the PA and executive group, we were fighting the expansion of this. And you know, what we went through as players in my era, we got paid, guess what? $400 a week for training camp. $400. We didn't get our salaries then. We got $400 a week for training camp. Go think about that right there. You're putting yourself out there in practice for $400 a week. My goodness. And, you know, how good does that feel? But that's changed a little bit. So I'm going to digress there. But this is the NFL is trying to grow in one way. It's finding ways to capture audience, give them more viewing opportunities. They've already grabbed Monday nights for Monday Night Football, Thursday Night Football. And then you have sometimes special editions Saturday and Sunday, but definitely Sunday. And you can see an early game, a late afternoon game, and then an evening game on Sunday. And, you know, they're trying to find those windows of opportunity because they grab audience. And the NFL is the number one opportunity for partners and sponsors and brands to make an impact through television, you know, in today's world. And there's nothing even close to it. So when you think about the impact that the NFL has had, that's why there's so much revenue, there's so much growth, and it's deserved. You know, the players going to get their part, and it's something that the brands are trying to capitalize on. So going to another ball game, first of all, I'll tell you this: as players age, going through their careers, your body the healing time slows down. So when you get to 25, 26, 27, what used to be as a 22-year-old, you could pop right up and go. But when you get to that age, 25, 26, it starts to slow down. And as you get into your 30s, it starts to take longer to get healed every single week. I see an issue out there. I don't know what that magical balance is of time before games and those kinds of things. They're different. They really are. It's different for a lot of guys to be able to do that. Recovery times are challenging, and then you have you know, just trying to put your body out there for an extra weekend. And believe it or not, there will not be an agreement by the NFLPA without extending salaries one more week, as far as, you know, whatever the gross is. So there's going to be,
why.
Yeah, if there is a game added to the schedule again, which they have now, there will be another bump in player salaries, and it's not going to be organic. It's going to be automatic. Because they're just extending it, and you have to pay them because you're going to have an opportunity to derive designated gross income from broadcast and game gate receipts and everything else. So I don't necessarily like it. I don't like extending it, but you know, what's better than being home on the couch for as many weekends as we can watching the NFL? That's the fans' point of it. The fans don't understand what it takes to get ready every single week, and how difficult it is from Sunday to Sunday just to get your body healed.
Eli Manning, why is he not in the Hall of Fame? What the hell?
I think there's some monkeying around going on too. There's some players out there that are in this world that are not really coming to the realization that he's a bona fide, deserved entry into the Hall of Fame. You look at his body of work; it is comparable to more, if not most, of the enshrined already NFL quarterbacks that are in the Hall of Fame. And with his legacy of championships and basically how he conducted himself with one team, I can't say enough. I was fortunate enough to be inducted to the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame Eli, and I was the first New York former Giants player to be there. I had to bring Eli along in and had him there. And I was sitting there with him in Louisiana a few years back when he was brought in there. It was fun to visit with him. He's just, he and his brother, they're those guys. They've got the world, looking at them, and they're in a good spot. But there's a deserved spot that he needs to be, and it's in that Hall of Fame next to his brother, and I think that's going to happen sooner than later.
Gary, we really appreciate the time. We got to get you on the show. This was one of those interviews. We got to get to know you a little bit. I'm a little crazy. My interviewing could be a little outlandishly nuts, but I wanted to be professional tonight. I wanted to give you a professional interview and kind of give you my take on what I thought or what you think of your New York Giants. I am a Jet fan. Everybody else on this show besides Jopper are Giant fans. We have Fish, who you just met, Speedy, and Tommy Poops over here. They're all Giant fans. I do not hate the Giants. I never hated the Giants. I just can't stand the Giant fans.
Hey, let me ask you a question. You're a Jets fan. Are you on medication too?
All the time. All the time, man. I'm on blood pressure, cholesterol. I mean, you name it, I'm on it. I got you. Reflux. I was just looking, the one little picture I can see of you. I thought that there might be a little something going on. So well, I'm a little crazy. And if you actually listen to the show, and we've been a top 100 show we're right there. I think we were ranked 115 today. The other day we were 106. We're one of the best shows right now in the country, not signed by any network. We're working on that happening probably in the very near future. And Nathan reached out to us, and he always gives us such great guests. And we had Howard Cross on last week from your Giant team, and now we had you. You're sensational. Keep up the good work. And
well, thank you. Let me show you what I'm doing now. Also,
absolutely.
I'm kind of paring down my broadcast work, and that is all kind of by design. And really, what I've done is I've put together a platform, and it's called Reasons to Believe. I have a book that I've penned. It's coming out this spring, Reasons to Believe. And it all supports what I'm doing now. And what I basically do is I teach leaders how to perform under pressure. And it's from using lessons that I've learned from my days playing in the NFL under championship environments, as well as 30 years in broadcasting. And also I've been an executive for 20 plus years in the corporate space. So I take that to companies, corporate environments, and give them some messaging and teach them along the way. So this platform, Reasons to Believe, it's out there now. Go to GaryReasons.com and you can find out all about it. And happy to visit with anybody, keynote speaker, event speaker, but also this Reasons to Believe platform. You're going to hear quite a bit about it upcoming here this year, I believe, and along with this book. And I'll be back. I'll be happy to come back on and when the book is out, and we'll talk it up. Okay.
Absolutely. I think you're a great personality. I think you have a lot to say, and I think you can give so much information, not only about football, but really the back end of, careers and growing into a personality and really going after your goals. So why not? Gary, I love you, man. You've done everything that you've done in your career. You can see that you're a champion, and you've built such a great rapport in this business outside of the game of football. It's pretty cool. I wish you nothing but the best, and we definitely would like to get you on again.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. It was fun tonight.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, two-time Super Bowl champion, the one they call Gary Reasons, the man, the myth, the legend. Sensational. Thank you, Nith. He was a great one. He really was. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. And looking forward to getting him on. We'll talk a little bit about his book. We'll speak and we'll deliver. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we call this What's Beef?
I'm a nut. I'm a nut. Do you know what beef is? Do you know what beef is?
Put him up. Which one are you first? I'll fight you both together if you want. I'll fight you with one paw tied behind my back. I'll fight you standing on one foot. I'll fight you with my eyes closed.
I'll check this. What's beef?
What, are you scared?
Watch your mouth. Bring it. Beef is when I see you. Guaranteed to be in ICU. One more time. What's beef? Beef.
You want to jerk me off?
All right, guys, welcome to Beef, a segment that we do whenever there's beef in the sports world. Errol, we talked about it earlier today when I had you on the phone. Ben Roethlisberger was called out on the Cam Hayward podcast by Joey Porter Sr. I think we've got the clip. Speedy, why don't you roll the credits here?
Because, like,
that's the one I don't understand
the
as
shit
much.
the seven dude that did that we don't talk about.
I know.
is crazy. Like out of anybody should talk, he should never grab a microphone and really talk Steeler business. Yeah. Because if we talking Steeler business, his ass is foul of all foul. Like the shit that he's did is foul of all foul. He's not a good teammate. Won the Super Bowl with him, but the person, he's just not a good teammate. Like, he knows that. Anybody in the Steeler building knows that. But we protected him because I've only won one Super Bowl, and that was my quarterback. So do I love my quarterback? Yeah, but is he a good person? No.
There it is. Errol, after this happened, there were a number of people that came out and supported what Joey Porter Jr. had to say, including Mason Rudolph, who was drafted as Ben Roethlisberger's backup. There were a few other ones, mostly because they're going after Tomlin. Roethlisberger kind of said that maybe it's time for Tomlin to step down. The fact that he went after the guy that might be the only one he couldn't talk about set off a Steelers veteran and a lot of guys, even though Cam Hayward stayed very quiet the entire time. We're not happy. So, Errol, what's the deal with this beef?
Well, there's a lot of quarterbacks that we've heard are not liked by their teammates. Aaron Rodgers being another one. Brett Favre was another one. Phillip Rivers, we've heard through the grapevine, people didn't like very, very much, even though a lot of people that have been on this show said he was a good teammate. There are a lot of guys that you're not going to like playing over years and years of time on that roster. We all know that Ben Roethlisberger had rape charges. We all know that Ben Roethlisberger didn't take care of himself. He was riding a motorcycle when the team told him not to continue riding on a motorcycle. He got into a bad accident, almost hurt his career and hurt the Pittsburgh Steelers and really the growth in the championship competitive team they were after that. I think obviously Joey Porter and a lot of guys didn't like him because of who he was and his personality. And we've heard this many, many times. Ben Roethlisberger wasn't a person, a leader in the locker room. But when he went out there, he played hard. He was an elite quarterback. He won championships. And I think this might hurt him as a first ballot Hall of Famer. He might not be a first ballot Hall of Famer because of the fact that his own teammates didn't like him. But was he one of the greats of this era? 100%. Is Joey Porter wrong about him coming out and speaking about closed door kind of stuff? No, you know why? Because all Steeler players over the years have thrown teammates under the bus. Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell. How many guys do we have to mention? Juju Smith-Schuster. All these guys have something to say about the organization. And why? Because Mike Tomlin was there. Mike Tomlin was a player's coach, but he didn't know how to control his locker room. These guys spoke when they wanted to speak, and they've thrown teammates under the bus many, many times. We all know the competition they've had over the years with the Bengals. Remember that Devontae Perfect hit against Antonio Brown? And teammates came out and protected Antonio Brown, the same guy that locked himself into a house and threatened to kill people. All right? That same guy that Joey Porter and all these guys stuck up for Antonio Brown. How many times did we hear that Joey Porter said that Le'Veon Bell's a good guy? This is the same guy that was raping his cousin at the age of 14. So am I going to sit here and believe that Joey Porter's wrong about Ben Roethlisberger? Probably knows something that we don't know. And I'm not saying Ben Roethlisberger's a good guy. I don't think any guy is a good guy when your teammates are coming out and throwing you under the bus. But to say something like that on a podcast and when somebody can't protect himself, if you're a man, do it when Ben Roethlisberger's there. Go on his show and call him out on his show. Don't go on another show and throw a man under the bus. I'm looking forward to hear what Ben Roethlisberger has to say about Joey Porter and his personality, because we all know what Joey Porter was as a player. He was, first of all, a cheap shot type of hitter. He talked a lot of crap. He spoke a lot of crap about players on his own roster. And by the way, he's thrown coaches under the bus on that same roster on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And now his own son is the starting corner on that roster. So I don't know if I'm going to take everything that Joey Porter said. Am I going to judge what he said about Ben Roethlisberger? We already know that Ben Roethlisberger is not a good guy after all the things that he's done on and off the football field. So he's probably not lying. I just think it was the wrong platform to attack somebody that wasn't there to defend himself.
We talked about it with the Seahawks, with Russell Wilson versus the Legion of Boom and that whole locker room fallout. And we have a defense that was that good like the Steelers were even then, before Mike Tomlin got there with Bill Cowher. There was a lot of really good players on that team, and obviously a lot of outspoken personalities on that team. In addition to Joey Porter, you also have guys like Ike Taylor, who said a lot of things since he retired and has joined NFL Network and a bunch of other platforms. Brian McFadden, who's their other opposite corner, has been on CBS Sports, and he's been pretty out there too. But Porter was the one that on that team that was kind of an instigator in his own right too. Tommy and I were talking about we were talking about him as a coach too. When he was an assistant coach under Tomlin in that Steelers-Bengals playoff game, I believe it was Reggie Nelson he was instigating on the sideline.
Yep.
I believe in the second quarter of that game. And so there was always a little bit of that bad blood going there. Now, I'm going to believe the majority when it comes to Ben Roethlisberger obviously not being a good guy, which, again, he obviously should have been suspended a lot longer than 4 games for the rape charge at the time. But the NFL wasn't really on the...
And the Steelers were protected.
Yeah, the NFL wasn't really on the let's suspend him for massive long periods of time, really, until the domestic violence instances really piled up, starting with Ray Rice.
What I don't understand is he came out and he said, this is my quarterback, and we tried to protect him. We tried to keep everything outside of the locker room, inside of the locker room. Okay, then why are you speaking about it now? Why are you throwing this guy under the bus now that you're not even in the locker room anymore? You guys go now. There's going to be times where the team's going to have special opportunity that they're going to have. What do they call it? Anniversaries. Yeah. Where championship anniversaries. How is that going to work when you have Ben Roethlisberger, the quarterback, one of the leaders of the team, going to actually go into a locker room or go into an anniversary dinner with these guys that are speaking garbage and trash about him? I don't think it's going to work. I think it affects the anniversary thing, and I just don't think it's the right time to do it. Not at this time. Not during the Super Bowl. Not coming out on another podcast. If you're going to call somebody out, call him out on his own podcast. Invite yourself on there and just have a conversation with Ben. But listen, I don't think Ben is a good person. I don't know him personally, so I don't know. But I've heard through the grapevine he's not very good, and it just comes from a different culture. And honestly, I do believe that in Pittsburgh they allowed their players to do whatever the hell they wanted. Everybody says that Tomlin was a player's coach. Well, look at the bad players he's had on those teams in those organizations. Look at George Pickens. He goes to another organization. He's one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. He never got a chance to be that player with Mike Tomlin. He leaves, he is. So do you think it's the player, or is it Mike Tomlin not be able to control his players with the different personalities in the locker room? That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I think the other thing too is Ben Roethlisberger also went to another extreme with Tomlin. I think a lot of the younger players are going to defend him more. Porter was one that played with Cowher too, so obviously he played with Tomlin, but again, he still has the allegiance of the previous regime too. And a lot of I think the most outspoken ones against Ben Roethlisberger have been all those the nuttiest of the nuts with Antonio Brown, with Le'Veon Bell, even Rashard Mendenhall. We talked about another story with him 3 years ago, was saying something sexist too. Those are the ones that have been the most against Ben Roethlisberger on the offensive side. I think Porter's kind of the leader of that on the defensive side, but I think there is a little bit of a generational gap. But like you said, if there's ever an anniversary for that Super Bowl team, it's going to be very awkward.
Do you think that he even gives a crap what these guys think of him? I probably not, but I think if I was Ben Roethlisberger and I was a part of this Pittsburgh Steelers greatness for so many years, and I was the face of that greatness, I'm not going to sit here and listen to Joey Porter speak bad about me. I'm a Hall of Famer, not you, Joey. I'm going to be inducted into Canton. You're not. Why is anybody going to listen to you when I was the superstar player of that team and that organization for so many great years? So, and without Joey Porter or with Joey Porter, they weren't a championship team. If Ben Roethlisberger wasn't there, they don't win the championships or the championship. The first championship really had nothing to do with him, but the second one had everything to do with Ben Roethlisberger. So I think Joey Porter did it in a way where I think it's I think he stabbed him in the back. I think that was the wrong way of doing it. If you're going to call somebody out, Ben Roethlisberger has a podcast. Invite yourself on and ask him. Call him out. He's like, do you think you were a good teammate? Ben will tell you the truth. And that might have been more interesting to see how they would react against each other than him going on another podcast and throwing the man under the bus where he has no way of protecting himself. I hate that because I've heard, and I'm going to say this truthfully, I have listened to other podcasts, people that I know that have thrown me under the bus. And I've listened to it. I never took a shot at them at any point of their careers. They came out and took a shot at me nonchalantly and thought that I wasn't going to hear it. And now I can throw them under the bus and attack them. Now, do I think that was foul? Absolutely. Why? If you have something to say about me, come on my show, but you don't have the balls to come on this show because you know what's going to happen if you do. I'm going to counter on you and I'm going to call you out on everything that you said. So unfortunately, some guys hide behind a mic and others don't need to hide up behind a mic. They'll say what they feel. I think Ben would have loved to attack or even go back and forth with a guy like Joey Porter in person on a mic. I think Joey Porter was foul doing it the way he did it. That's all I'm going to say. All right, ladies and gentlemen, when we come back, we got Let's Parlay. We got a new segment. I'm a man, I'm 40, and what's that smell? But first, a sports minute with the fish.
3, 2, 1. This is the Jabba and the Mouth Sports Minute.
All right, guys, Aaron Fishman here with your Sports Minute. A couple of more stories before we go through the scores tonight. Son of golfing legend Tiger Woods, Charlie Woods, announced on Instagram on Tuesday that he has committed to play golf in college for Florida State University when he's eligible in 2027. Woods, who is dominating high school golf and has been good in amateur appearances, helped the North Palm Beach elite private school, the Benjamin School, win their second 1A state championship in Florida in the past 3 seasons since Woods has been in the program. Woods was a first-team junior All-American and is ranked in the top 10 of the class of 2027 in the American Junior Golf Association recruiting rankings. While no one is expecting the younger Woods to match his 15-time major champion winning father, big things are expected of Charlie, who has quite a large pair of shoes to fill. Some interesting news from the MLB, and Netflix broke Wednesday as they gear up for the first ever MLB baseball broadcast on Netflix when the streaming giant will have the San Francisco Giants host the New York Yankees for opening day on March 25th. Netflix, who has already signed basketball personality Elle Duncan to be their primary studio host for all sports, including baseball, are trying to add some legitimate star power to the pre- and post-game broadcasts. According to The Athletic's Andrew Marchand, Netflix is trying to get legendary slugger Barry Bonds and Hall of Fame Yankees pitcher CeCe Sabathia for the inaugural broadcast for the boys at Tudum. Netflix is flying a little loose with their baseball coverage as they try to get the all-time home run king and one of the only 4 lefties to ever throw 3,000 strikeouts. But they also have no play-by-play team so far for the season, with opening day only 6 weeks away. While CeCe has been active in the media after his career as a regular on MLB Network's Clubhouse Edition and hosted a very successful podcast, R2C2, with Ryan Rucco, Bonds has been largely out of the media and has been viewed as a pariah due to his alleged steroid use, which has kept him out of the Hall of Fame, despite some of the best statistics in baseball history. Bonds last was involved in the MLB as a hitting coach for the Marlins 10 years ago in 2016. Only a couple of games tonight in basketball as we head into the All-Star break. Going on right now, the Trailblazers are trailing the Jazz 41-45 with 6:40 left in the second quarter. And final, earlier tonight, the Bucks beat the Thunder 110-93. Still to come, Lakers and Mavs. Guys, we are streaming live on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube on our Job in the Mouth handle, on Facebook under the Worldwide Sports Radio Network handle, and on Twitter under our host handle at ErrolMarks34. Keep downloading on Apple Podcasts and watch us both there and on Spotify. Now in video. Make sure you like and subscribe all our shorts, reels, TikToks, and longer videos you see from us throughout the week. Now back to Errol and Speedy for our next segment on Jabba and the Mouth.
Any questions?
What is this? We're back. This is the Jabba and the Mouth Show.
I want her running ball back. I'll be all that. He go home.
631-672-3108. I like this flow. You're listening to Jabba and the Mouth. It's just the Mouth tonight. No Jabba traveling as he's been doing. He's been working out with his son. His son this is a big year for his son at Hutch. Could be a D1 player next year. So big year for him. But we have the speedster, Mr. Speedy Petey, executive producer, Mr. Aaron Fishman, as you heard him, and the one they call Poops, Tommy Popes. Go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including Jabba in the Mouth every single Mondays and Thursdays at 6:45 p.m. All you have to do to tune in and check out our local listings for all our shows is go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Thank you to two-time Super Bowl champion linebacker Gary Reasons. Thank you to the old Nith for getting him on the show. It's been a crazy one. Who would have thought? And I was just talking to Speedy and Tommy offset when Fish was doing his sports take, a sports minute. I was saying to really look at what's going on in sports and there's not much to talk about. This show has gone fluently. This show has really been a really good show for nothing that's going on in sports. Think about it. The hockey season is on hold because of the Olympics. The football season's now over. We're not going to even speak about football until the combine, which is a couple of weeks away. And then we're going to be talking about the draft and their pro days. So there's really nothing about that. And March Madness is not for another 4 weeks. So there's nothing. There's nothing. It's just basketball right now in the Olympics. I mean, we could speak about the Olympics. My girlfriend was watching curling. We're watching curling right now. Tommy's asking me how this game is actually played. So he's trying to figure it out. But it's definitely a unique sport. I would love to curl. I love shuffleboard. It's not as easy as it looks, let me tell you. So it takes strategy. It takes understanding. It takes years of competitive nature to be competitive in this game. So it's not as easy as it seems. Speaking of easy, this is not easy when it comes to handicapping. We call this Let's Parlay.
Parlay, ole, ole, ole. It's time for Let's Parlay.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're waiting for Reno Johnny. He might be Tommy at the end of this whole segment, that's for sure. He's hanging out with his son. He's probably running around chasing. Now, there he is. He reappears, ladies and gentlemen, as Reno Johnny is back on with us since Super Bowl 60. Reno, what's up, buddy?
Living large here. Yeah. Man, I killed it. That Super Bowl, I made a lot of money. Maybe for people that tailed, right? We hit all the Cooper Cup props were hit in the first half. Never really in question as far as who's going to win that game. That runs me up to 17-3 ATS last 20 Super Bowls. I hear that's pretty good.
Yeah, pretty damn good. And by the way, just so you guys know, on Let's Parlay, actually, Moneyline Mania, you guys are almost at 79% for early this year. So last year you ended the year with over 70%. This year you guys are over 78%. Let's hit for a clear 80 all season long. Could you imagine that? 80% on picks throughout the year. That's pretty damn great, man. I mean, and so anybody it is unheard of. Anybody that doesn't know this game, it's pretty simple. They're going to give you 4 picks. He's going to give you his top 3 picks, and his last one will be a parlay for you guys to bet on. Are you ready, Reno Johnny?
I am. Yeah, we're actually gonna start off with a game that is about to tip right now. It's going to be Long Beach out in California. Take them on the money line. You probably get a good live action run of the game. Literally just tipped off about a minute and a half ago. They're coming in as small favorites. They've won 8 games all season long. I think this is kind of a quintessential begging for visitor money from the books. I'm going to go contrarian, take Long Beach at home on the money line. I think they get the job done. We're going to head out to Friday night hoops. Man, after basketball, we are deep diving, getting ready for March Madness. I'll be in Vegas first weekend of March. Anybody want to come up, say hi? Johnny Reno will have a booth out there at Circa. So I'll be out there. But Friday, we're going to head to college basketball. We're going to head to George Washington. Is that a Saturday morning game?
Very nice.
I think it's a Friday game. George Washington at home versus George Mason. It's another one of those spots where George Mason comes in as a much better team on the metrics, but they're only 2.5-point favorites. And in the college basketball, that typically doesn't make a whole lot of sense for us. So we're going to take the home team on that. We're going to take them on the money line, get a little bit plus money. I think that's going to be a good way to go. And then we're going to head out to Miami of Ohio, the only undefeated team in college basketball, 24-0. A lot of close games. This Miami of Ohio team probably should have lost a few games over the year. They've been in overtime sometimes, and they've kind of been able to get out of their own way. On Friday night, I'm not going to take them because they're going to lay a little bit too much, but I do think we're going to get a little bit of value in the over. Their defense has at times given up plenty of points to opponents. They gave up 74 to Marshall, which is not a very good team. They've given up 84 to UMass. They gave up 101 to Kent State on the road in a win, 102 to Buffalo, all games that they've won, but their offense has just scored a little bit more than that. So I'm going to take them to win this game. I can't lay the point, so I might do a little two-piece money line over, but what I'm going to do for my official play is just take the over 163.5 on Miami of Ohio. They are the much better team, but I think that there's going to be a lot of points either way. And then we're going to head to the Mountain West, maybe my best conference in college basketball. I grew up around the Mountain West. Nevada was part of the WAC before they went to the Mountain West. I'm going to take UNLV plus 10.5 on the road in Boise. This is a down UNLV team. This is a down Boise State team. I just think it's too many points at double digits for UNLV. They probably got the best player on the court in Gibbs Lawhorn, averaging 18.7 points per game. I do think he's going to play a factor here. They keep this game close. This is a one team tournament team conference here this year. In the last couple of years, they've gotten 2, 3, 4 teams. Mountain West this year is going to be one winner take all. So definitely a down year as a conference, but I do think this game stays a little bit closer, and UNLV might squeak out the upset win, but I'm going to take the points at 10.5.
Wow, look at you, man. You flow. It's right off the lips tonight. Is the baby sleeping?
We just put the baby to sleep. We have he's 3 now. We keep calling him baby, but he's 3 now. We have
He's a baby, man. He's a baby.
He's a little man. He's throwing punches nowadays. So yeah, we have a little ritual at night. He likes to give me hugs and kisses, and that's about a 5-minute interchange there that he just wants to hug and kiss and hug. He's stalling. He don't want to go to sleep yet, but yeah, he just got put down. So put on this Long Beach game on my phone because it's on ESPN Plus, so I can watch games. The games I bet.
So what you're going to do is you're going to sit with the wife, watch a movie, and then on your phone watch the games, right?
That's it, man. I've been working hard all week, so we're going to take it easy tonight. Watch it.
The small school college basketball is the best part of the ESPN Plus.
Get some wine, get some cookie. You got to do that. You got to do that tonight. It's one of those nights.
It's we'll see how much we get there, but a long week
before you doze off.
I
want to get a chance. I haven't had a chance to watch The Wrecking Crew, but I watched what is that? The Maid movie? What's it called? What was that movie with the 2 blonde girls?
You talking about a Housemaid?
Housemaid, dude. That movie was a creeper, dude. That was.
I read the book. My wife is a big fan of the books and the author. So she was like, I want to go see this movie. So I had 3 weeks to read the book. I do audiobooks. Okay. I'm lazy about it. I can't read. But we went to watch the movie in theaters. I read the book. It got me. It's catchy. It's a good movie. And it's not too bad to look at.
I will tell you this. Me and my girlfriend were watching it the other day. We sat and she kept me up till 3:00 in the morning, and she was like on her tippy toes. And I'm looking at him like, what the hell is going on in this movie? She's crazy. He's crazy. Then it's a game. I didn't know what was going on. I don't want to tell anybody the story if you never saw it, but it is one of the most ridiculously crazy movies you will ever see. And it's a must watch if you've never seen it. It's a long movie. It's 2 hours and 15 minutes. it's worth the suspense. It's just one of the craziest movies you'll ever see.
It's good, and they're actually making a second part of it. So, yeah, I recommend it. It's a chick flick, quote unquote, but yeah, I enjoyed myself. It's a good movie. So I'm probably gonna watch that new Bert Kreischer show. Big fan of his on Netflix. So if Bert's listening, I'm plugging you in here. So if you want to give me followers,
Good old Bert. I want to watch The Wrecking Crew. That's the next thing I'm watching on Apple or Prime, whatever it's on. I want to see that movie, so I'll get a chance to see it. I don't know if I'm going to like it, but the storyline seems interesting. Anyways, thank you, Reno Johnny. We'll talk to you next week.
We'll talk next week, boys. Later.
Reno Johnny watching the games on his phone and hanging out with the wife, and hopefully get some nookie tonight. I mean, you would hope. I mean, listen. I'm not going to lie to you guys on this show. I always tell the truth. So if you're hanging out with the wife, we're hanging out with the girl, and you're watching a movie, the first thing you're thinking about is during the movie, kind of move. Me and Brittany don't. She's got to watch the whole movie, and she's got to understand it. She sometimes looks at me and she's like, "Do you get what's going on?" And I'm like, "This is one of that movie was one of the most craziest movies I've ever seen." And I'm watching and I'm like, "Okay, he seems nice. Oh no, he's crazy."
Errol, we saw it too, and the twist of how like the last half hour goes, I didn't see that coming in a million years.
Well, I did, because I said he was too nice. That guy is way too nice. But I didn't think that she was.
No, that's what I'm saying. That twist.
Yeah,
I don't think we should ruin it for everybody, but
no. That twist.
That's wild movie. Definitely worth a watch. And Amanda Seyfried is older now,
great.
but also fantastic.
She was great. She was better than Sweetie. Let me tell you. Way better.
Well, she's a more experienced actor. But Errol, I think we're gonna have an argument. I think, right now,
ladies and gentlemen, we have a new segment. We call this "I'm a Man, I'm 40."
I'm a man.
And now it's time for
I'm a man, I'm 40.
Suck my Indo. Scoop sits on the shitter.
Okay.
40-year-old Indo.
Welcome to this new segment. I'm a man, I'm 40. This is something based on the famous quote from the departed coach from Oklahoma State this year, Mike Gundy, supporting a young player who was attacked by the media. Playing the role of attacking a young player in the media will be Errol Marks, who is, a little bit above the number 40. Playing the role of the defendant of the young player of the Mike Gundy will be myself, Aaron Fishman, because I am a man and I'm 40. Errol, the person we are picking, he's in the top right corner of the screen, is Mr. Will Campbell. Had a tough game in the Super Bowl. How do you feel about Mr. Campbell?
He had a tough game against the Chargers. He had a tough game against the Texans, and he had a tough game against the Broncos. Let's be honest. When you look at the Patriots' schedule this year, yes, he's a rookie. Yes, when you look at this, the way they played this year, they were 14-3. You would say, wow, the offensive line played well. Who did they beat this year? If you look at the schedule, they lost against the Raiders, which, by the way, Max Crosby rained fire on him during that game. And then if you look at the season as a whole, they didn't play top-end talent. They played the Jets twice. They played Miami twice. These aren't world-breaking defenses. When I look at what he is as a player, he had short arms coming out of the draft. That was something that they said. He had great footwork. His technique, mediocre. They said there was stuff about him that could work in the NFL, and there's stuff about him that might not work in the NFL. And when he gets bum rushed by these more faster, more talented linebackers or defensive linemen, he could be beaten on the outside. A lot of experts thought that he would be a good offensive tackle, might not be a great offensive tackle. I thought that the Patriots did not reach on him. He was the best tackle in the class. But, well, that's what they said. But Membu looks like he's the better one. But the fact here is, against good defensive talent this year, especially in the playoffs, he was beaten many, many times to the outside and even sometimes to the inside. When it came down to good defenses and defenses that could put pressure on him on the outside, he had problems stopping him. I'm not saying he's a bad offensive lineman, but an elite offensive lineman, will he be an elite offensive lineman? I don't know. I beg to differ. There's a guy that reminds me of him very, very much. Remember Jonah Williams?
Oh, yeah, I liked him a lot.
From the Bengals. Remember when they drafted him? Very highly profiled, came from, I think it was Alabama, right? Everybody thought
it was Evan Neal.
Everybody said that this guy was going to be a great tackle. This guy was going to be sensational. And he had ups and down seasons. There was stuff about him that some people thought that his hands were too small, that his technique wasn't as good in the NFL, wouldn't fit in the NFL. And they were right about him. I'm not saying that that's going to happen to Will McDonald, but we have seen this year against great defensive linemen, he's had problems stopping.
Well, you know what? I'm a man. I'm 40. Stop going after such a young buck. Come after me. I got plenty to say in support of Will Campbell. Didn't work out his rookie season at the end of the year. Got hurt, tore his MCL, played on it. Fought through it, didn't complain. Not a complainer, Will Campbell. Gave up only 5 sacks in the previous 13 games. That's about 1 sack every 3 games. That's not terrible for a first-year player. Now, in the run game, he was very effective. If you go back to the draft, he had one of the highest relative athletic scores. You know, that thing that, they always show that Calvin Johnson maxed out with this big circle and like the trapezoid or like the pentagon or whatever the shape that is inside it. Well, guess what? He's the best lineman version of that they've seen in a long time, except he has a different type of athleticism. He doesn't realize yet as a rookie how he's supposed to pass it. That's what experts across the internet have been saying. He's just a young guy. You shouldn't be coming after him. He's a rookie. He's being put in a spot. There should have been a veteran next to him that maybe helped him out a little bit. Maybe they should have chipped a little bit. Assistant Coach of the Year, Josh McDaniels. Maybe you should have had a little bit better protection schemes in the playoffs, Josh McDaniels. I'm not blaming Will Campbell when he was banged up for getting toasted by the best defense we've seen, maybe top 3 defense since 2000. Top 5 for sure.
Vegas, Miami, Pittsburgh wasn't the same defense they've been. Carolina early in the season wasn't a great defense. Buffalo's been up and down. The Saints were horrible. Tennessee wasn't good. Cleveland was up and down all season long. They had Myles Garrett and the rookie defensive player of the year. The Atlanta Falcons up and down all season. Tampa was horrible. The Jets defense was horrible. Cincinnati's defense, horrible. The Giants defense was better than average of what they played this year. Baltimore was horrible. The Jets were horrible. Miami's horrible. Washington was up and down, really horrible. I could go on and on and on and on and on. Their schedule was absolutely easy, simple. And I said, going into the playoffs, I want to see what Drake May could do against talented top-end teams, and I want to see what Will Campbell, and what this offensive line and this great defense of the New England Patriots, this run-stopping defense was all season long. I want to see how they can compete against the elite teams in the AFC. And boy, oh boy, Will Campbell did not look good. He looked horrible against the Texans. I don't know if anybody watched the complete domination of the Texans. How many fumbles were there in the game? 4? I mean, and they attacked Will McDonald. They didn't attack the other side. They attacked Will McDonald. Will McDonald was
Will Campbell.
I'm sorry.
You love Will McDonald, though.
Yeah, yes, I do. Well, I don't know if I love him anymore, but Will Campbell had problems stopping the defense of the Texans. Will Campbell had problems stopping the defense of the Broncos. They completely attacked him all game long on both games. And I think when you watch film, you can see there was a lot of weaknesses he had, especially techniques on the outside, and you can see it. And I think all the great coaches, especially the defensive-minded coaches, attacked that during the playoffs. And I think if he continues on that trajectory, he's going to have problems moving forward in his career. Again, we'll see how he is next year against top-end talents, number 1 teams in their divisions, because that's what they're matched up against. Their schedule is going to be much, much more harder next year. And then we can really decide if Will Campbell is going to be an elite offensive tackle or mediocre. And I think he's more of a mediocre tackle than an elite tackle in this league.
Well, just to finish it up, I'll tell you, as a rookie, he was rated in the top 60 to 70% in both pass and run block for tackles, which is good, not great, but he was there. And he's found a way to get, through the season, playing through the playoffs. Yes, they were targeting him. He was banged up, but I'm telling you, as a rookie, when you get attacked like this, you're going to take it personally if you're any kind of competitor. And everything that people said about Will Campbell is he's a competitor. I have a good feeling, and quotes from Dante Scarnecchia, legendary Patriots line coach, who's not there anymore, said that, I'm not getting rid of this guy. I'm not firing this guy. I'm putting him right back where he was. Vrabel firmly shuts down any rumors of moving him inside the guard, that his hands, his arm length's too small. This guy just needs to get into the workshop. He's his first year out of college. He had to face, that Denver defense was excellent. That Houston defense was better. And that Seattle defense is one of the all-time defenses. Anyone's going to struggle against them. This guy is going to get better. And I know that because I'm a man and I'm 40.
You're a man, all right. You're definitely 40. But a little lost on these takes because I disagree. And honestly, he comes from LSU. And a lot of these offensive linemen over the years, they're highly profile guys that don't really get over, in the NFL. So I'm not saying that he won't be successful. Nobody says that he won't be. He's in his first year, he plays in a Super Bowl. He bombed in a Super Bowl and he bombed throughout the playoffs, but he still has an opportunity with a Patriot team, Mike Vrabel, and obviously Josh McDaniels, two guys that know what they're doing, have been successful at the position, as coaches and as well, Mike Vrabel as a position player. So we'll see how he develops. I question, first of all, Membu was a better player coming out of the draft than he was. And Membu was drafted after him. I think the Jets really struck gold with Membu. And
I remember when we did the draft, and I kept showing the highlights of him in college. Every single play that I found the highlight was him putting somebody on his back and blocking through the end of the whistle.
You said you thought he was the best tackle in the draft. And this year it showed because he was a top 12 player in PFF. And the Jets have a future because they have Fashanu and they have him on the outside. So they could build on that. At least they have something to build on. It's something that Seattle built on at the end of the Pete Carroll time with Russell Wilson. They needed to re-up and fix that offensive line. And what did they do in the same draft? They added a right tackle and a left tackle, which changed everybody's fortune, including their fortune. One of the main reasons why they dominated that game in the Super Bowl was the offensive line. I think people don't understand how important the trenches is, and that offensive line completely dominated. They opened holes up for Walker. I think any running back could have ran through those holes. That's how great that offensive line played, especially that running game played all game long in the Super Bowl and completely dominated a team like the Patriots. They would think they were second ranked defensively at stopping the run. They could not stop Walker, and they could not stop that big offensive line.
You know what was real interesting, and I was listening to some people break it down. Cooper Kupp did the thing that Brandon Ayuk used to do in that game, which was come down the line and just clean up the backside so that Walker could cut back. Cooper Kupp was responsible for a number of those big runs. And people don't realize how great of a run blocker he is, not to mention the fact that he led the team in receiving in the Super Bowl and had a score.
Which we believe that was going to happen. And obviously the injury that the Jigba had in the second half, he needed to make some plays. And him and Barner played very well in the second half. And Barner had that important touchdown. And Cooper Kupp was the go-to guy, the blanket for, a quarterback that needed needed that opportunity to get the ball to. So, and by the way, Sam Darnold was sensational in that game. Everybody looks at his numbers and are like, well, he didn't have when he needed to make a play, he made a play. And to lose your number one target early in the second half, to go in, to take the ball all the way down the field the way he did and get that ball to Barner shows you why they're Super Bowl champions. I think people need to give Sam Darnold a little bit more credit. When they needed to put everything on his shoulders, Mike Macdonald did that. And that's why I think Mike Macdonald was the best coach in the NFL this year. He trusted in his players and trusted in the quarterback to make the play. And congratulations to the Seattle Seahawks for a great season and just surprise. 14-3 and then just fly right through the playoffs. They flew. The Rams wouldn't have even been close in that game if it wasn't for Woolen. Okay. I think they destroyed the Rams, completely dominated the Rams, and you know what they did to what they did to San Francisco.
Embarrassed them.
They completely dominated a San Francisco team that was playing so well at a high, quality of football all season long, especially the last 4 or 5 games of the season, and to do what they did to Christian McCaffrey and that offense, it was very impressive. So Seattle deserved to be where they were, and I think they were the best team going into the playoffs by far out of all the teams go from the AFC and the NFC. So, and I think they're going to be even better next year because they still have a lot of money. They can add free agents. I think they're in the top 12 in money that they can spend. And I think they're in a very good position next year. Very good position to repeat in an NFC that they're by far the top three in the NFC going into the season next year. So be very interesting to watch what they do in free agency, what they do in the draft. And Schneider is a very good guy when it comes to drafting people in later rounds. So I'm interested to see how they're going to even build more onto the talent that they have right now. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, our last segment of the night. What's that smell?
Hold up. What is that smell?
What's that smell?
Wow. You don't see that every day.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's pretty simple. We got us four in. We got Tommy Poops with the beautiful glasses, new edge. It probably gives him Chat GPT information as it probably talks to him, because I have them too. I ask it questions. It tells me anything that I need. And we got the Speedster and Mr. Fish. So we're going to go like this. But if you don't know the rules, it's pretty simple. We tell you a story and we tell you what it smells like. It could smell like roses, or it could smell like dog poo-poo, or whatever the hell you want to call it. Doggy duty. All right, so we're going to go with Speedy, Tommy Poops, Fish, me. Here we go.
All right, I'm going to give you credit for this one, Fish. You brought the story up to me, and I figured it might as well use it. Once I realized the guy was Norwegian, too. I am part Norwegian, so I had to go after this. So there was an Olympic bronze medal biathlon cross-country skier. For those who don't know, that's cross-country skiing combined with rifle shooting. And his name is Sturla Holm Lagreed, who won the bronze medal and then decided to awkwardly make a confession to his ex-girlfriend that he cheated on 3 months ago, allegedly, but only decided to tell her last week. And the ex-girlfriend, who remains anonymous, she wanted to remain anonymous, came out last week and said this was, a day ago, and said this was not the time or the place to do it. He basically said, I may have won a bronze medal, but I want the gold medal back of who I really deserve, referring to his ex-girlfriend that he cheated on. So making a very awkward claim. Meanwhile, it shed some attention off of his teammate, Johan Ola, who won the gold medal in the event. And also looks bad when, unfortunately, they had another one in Sivert Guttorm Bakken, who unfortunately passed away from an accident last month in training. And he did pay homage to him before that, but still, like, shedding your light on this and trying to make a pitch to your ex-girlfriend that you cheated on after this monumental event for you. He's a young kid, definitely younger than 40 in order to do the biathlon, but definitely a really awkward moment for Sturla Holm Lagreed, and really taking away from all those great Norwegian skiers that they have, including one in Ola that won a gold medal. So what does it smell like? Well, there's a lot of smelly fish in Norway. The two smelliest, according to AI, Rakfisk and Lutefisk. So it smells like
what?
Yes, it smells like Sturla being pelted with that by rifle guns for 51 minutes and 20 seconds, the amount of time it took him to finish the race.
You want my cream pie?
Now, cream pie smells way too good for this guy.
I like anal.
And he doesn't deserve anal either.
I hope not. That's another drop right there.
All right, Tommy.
All right. As I could just finish typing that in as a drop later. All right. But yeah, basically my what's that smell? I'm going to be going somewhere that I kind of go quite often. I'm going over to the squared circle over in wrestling with WrestleMania and WWE. Basically, Braun Breaker, who, if you guys don't know who Braun Breaker is, pretty much one of the most pushed star within the last year, other than Gunther, as we've also talked about on this show much recently as well. He is apparently hurt, has a supposed hernia from flipping over an announce table, and truthfully, the world is trying to know if this is a work or not. So, truthfully, I originally just looked at it, saw it was a work. Many people, of course, I've talked to many people. Fish also believes this could be a work. We could see him back in WrestleMania time.
Beneficial!
Very, very soon. The timing is a little bit funny for me. That's the only reason why we have Elimination Chamber coming up this month. So, really, I don't know the direction that it's going to go to with Braun Breaker. And honestly, without a Braun Breaker title win at this Mania, it's going to spell bad for Triple H. He's already had, if he does so, strikes out on pretty much back-to-back WrestleManias. Wouldn't look good for this new era that he's trying to thrust everybody into. So with Braun Breaker being out, what does it smell like? It smells like the most absolute terrifying thing that I'm going to poop out in the toilet when I get home.
Because they don't have tongues!
I would hope they don't have tongues either.
That would be kind of my ass.
Don't eat anything with tongues, Tommy.
Hey, look, my ass would be a couple inches away from the toilet. I don't know if I want my tongue and ass to be, associated with that.
I don't any of the smelling Norwegian fish either.
Why would I want to pull Jabba's panties down?
All right, Fish, please.
I don't even know what to say about that other than I've got a new recipient, Errol, for I guess now not memorial because he's not dead, but he's not in the league anymore. The Anthony Rendon Memorial, not going to play any games while getting paid a ton of money award. It's going to Chris Bryant, who was announced the other day that he will start the 2026 season on the 60-day injured list due to lumbar degenerative disc disease. So that was 2 days ago when they announced that. He signed a contract. He's played 170 games out of a possible 648. That's going to be over 700 by the time he comes back. Errol, that's around 30% of the games that he's played for that contract. I mean, it's no Anthony Rendon, but it's pretty despicable. Now, Rendon chose not to play, a lot of us believe. This is more like a David Wright thing where his back is going on him, and there's really not much he can do about it. But they paid him, and baseball's guaranteed money, so guess what? He gets to keep that money and gets to keep collecting those checks. What does it smell like? Well, in Colorado, this is what I think it smells like. It smells like a deep dish pizza from Chicago, which what they thought they were getting in Chris Bryant, the good Chris Bryant. And what it turned out, they accidentally dropped it off in Pagosa Springs Sugar Beet Processing in Fort Morgan, which is a rotten fish and sulfur smell that is the worst smell in Colorado. Mixed with that pizza, oh my God, it must be terrible.
I'm putting you on a leash now.
All right, so my final what's that smell? Well, it has to go to Stephen A. Smith in this story because before the playoffs and the success of the Patriots defense, he took pride in an African-American defensive coordinator in Terrell Williams. This guy's great. The reason why the Patriots defense is as good as it is because of Terrell Williams. But by the way, I guess Stephen A. Smith didn't actually know who the defensive coordinator was because he was out the whole season because of injury. So it wasn't Terrell Williams. It was really Mike Vrabel and the linebacker coach that was calling the defensive play calls. Well, after the Super Bowl loss, there was a conversation that Terrell Williams will be back for next year. He's ready to come back as the defensive coordinator. But a new story just came out. The New England Patriots are opening their defensive coordinator position by moving Terrell Williams, who missed the 2025 season after being diagnosed with prostate cancer, to a high-ranking role on Coach Mike Vrabel's staff. A source confirmed Williams was recently cleared to return, according to Vrabel, who noted Tuesday that there was or were things to work through with the configuration of his staff. So, what it's telling me right now is he doesn't want to go back to Terrell Williams, and he's giving him a higher opportunity. Well, he claims it's a higher position on a higher ranking on his coaching staff because he doesn't believe Terrell Williams is the guy as moving forward as a defensive coordinator. That means he's either going to bring in a defensive coordinator. There's a couple of guys that are still available right now in free agency, coaches. that have been very successful as defensive coordinators? Or does he bring back Zach, which was very successful all season long as taking over for defensive coordinator? Or maybe Mike Vrabel calls the defensive play calling moving forward, which he was probably doing throughout the season. You know what it smells like? It smells like rotten fish coming out from New England and using that blue crab to shove up his ass. How do you like that? I like the blue crab. It tastes very good.
I guess we're going Atlantic Ocean fish.
I don't know, because I wouldn't shove a crab up my ass. That would really hurt. But
I think Shane Bowen's available, by the way.
Yeah, sure.
That would be
Used to work with him.
That's true. Very interesting. Or a guy named Smith, if you know what I'm talking about. Last name Smith. I wonder who I'm speaking about. Anyways, thank you to all the fans. Thank you, obviously, to former two-time Super Bowl champion Gary Reason for joining us. He was sensational. Thank you for him and giving us the time, almost 45 minutes on the interview. He was really sensational. So thank you to Gary. And he looked like he had a lot of fun. I didn't go off pace or crazy with Gary. I didn't want him to think I was that crazy. But the next time he comes on, I might go a little bit ape crap or ape shit, if you want to call that, with my craziness. But thank you to Gary. Thank you to Reno Johnny for giving us his picks for the week. Thank you to all the fans on Spotify and Apple. We were ranked today at 115th in the whole country on football shows, podcasts around the country. So thank you to the Spotify and Apple video and audio fans. On obviously X, Job in the Mouth, and my X. I'd like to appreciate. I want to thank everybody for joining and following us on all the platforms: TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, all the platforms. Job in the Mouth. We're going to have a new YouTube channel that's going to be up very, very soon. Job in the Mouth, New York. What is it going to be, Speedy?
Job in the Mouth, New York Sports.
New York Sports. So you're going to be anybody that's a New York sport fan. You can check out all our New York sports takes on Jabba in the Mouth on that platform. So we're very excited for that. And again, thank you to all the fans that tune into us, support us, love us, give us all the gratitude and graciousness of, just what we do behind the scenes, all the work that we put into this. This is not easy. This is not a normal podcast. There's a lot of work that gets put on the back end of this. We should have Jabba on next Monday. Jabba is traveling, so hopefully everything is well with him. And again, have a good weekend. Enjoy this horrible basketball weekend, this all-star break of garbage, the slam dunk contest, the three-point contest, and whatever Adam Silver or whatever we want to call him, the ugly duckling, has in store for you fans. So it is horrible. But and enjoy the Olympics. The United States women's and men's hockey team, I think they played today, the men's team. I don't know if they won or lost. I got to check it out. But enjoy the rest of the Olympics, and we will see you